Chapter 462. Little Shoe Fights the Shark Issues shout caught the attention of the students in the water, and they all looked up to see a shark fin floating in the water. Ow. Meng Yao jumped in fright as she looked in the direction Yushu was pointing. There was indeed a shark fin floating around in the water. Isn't this the swimming area? Why is there a shark here? I opened up a hole in the barrier earlier, and the shark swam in. Pin Liang ran over to Yushu and Meng Yao, trying to take credit for what he'd done. It wasn't bullshit. He'd swum to the safe zone to prevent Yushu from seeing through his act, and opened up a big hole in the barrier. Of course, Pin Liang wasn't afraid of a real shark, either, since the chances of that happening were too low. Unless the smell of blood attracted the shark. Why else would a shark come here? Oh, that's great. We finally have shark meat to eat. Good job, Liang. Yushu patted Pin Liang on the shoulder happily, but turned to him worriedly. I say, Liang, you washed yourself clean, right? You don't smell bad, do you? No, I've been in the water for so long, I only smell salty. Pin Liang explained, embarrassed. That's more like it, Yushu said, but she still moved a little further away. The students in the water were all scared out of their wits at the sight of the shark, and they ran to the shore in a panic. It didn't take long before there was no one else in the water except for the shark. Xiaofu swam closer, too, and Pin Liang was rubbing his palms together, ready to fight the shark when Yushu ran over first. Shu, where are you going? It's dangerous. Meng Yao jumped in fright at Yushu's actions as she called out to her. It's fine, I'll go take a look. Yushu wasn't afraid of sharks. The last time Lin had brought her along, she'd been able to kill a shark. Sharks weren't that bad after all, and should be easy to kill. She wanted to see if she could do it. Yeah, Shu, don't go there, it's too dangerous. Let me catch this shark. Pin Liang was afraid that Yushu would notice something if she got too close. But Yushu didn't listen to Pin Liang at all. She ran straight to the beach, and Pin Liang had no choice but to jump into the sea first. He was afraid that Yushu would jump into the sea too. Lin Yi, on the beach not too far away, raised his head to look at the shark in the sea, then at Yushu before lowering his head, ignoring them. Hey, aren't you their bodyguard and follower? There's a shark in the water. Why aren't you protecting Yushu? Xiao looked at Lin Yi curiously. Isn't there Zhong Pin Liang? I won't be going. Lin Yi smiled. Him. Xiao thought that Lin Yi would rush up and expose his relationship with Meng Yao and Yushu, but Lin Yi didn't seem to have any intention of going. He'll run faster than a rabbit if there's danger. Ha! If you know that, then why would I go? Pin Liang would have run if there was danger. Does he look like he's in danger? Lin Yi asked. It doesn't look like it. Xiao nodded. Plus, is that a shark? Lin Yi smiled coldly. Did sharks swim like that? And it could even move horizontally? Wasn't that shark a little too strong? Not a shark? Then what is it? Xiao blinked, not understanding what Lin Yi meant. You'll know when you see it. Lin Yi wasn't sure what was in the sea, but it didn't look like it was controlled by a machine. It looked more like a person. Pin Liang jumped into the sea and pointed at the shark. How dare you, shark? How dare you come here? Die. Wow! I didn't think Pin Liang would be this brave, fighting a shark. The students on the shore praised, making Pin Liang feel a little smug. Shu, let's get further away. It's too dangerous here. Meng Yao pulled Yushu away from the shore. Watch me, Yao. Yushu wasn't scared at all. She pulled out a giant pebble from the sea and called out. Liang Yi, get out of the way. Pin Liang jumped in fright and turned around to see a giant oval object flying at him. He dodged instinctively, and the object hit the shark in the sea with a bang. Ah! Gao Xiaofu let out a blood-curdling scream as the pebble smashed into his forehead. Blood gushed out from his forehead and instantly dyed the nearby seawater red. Yeah, I killed the shark. Yushu danced around excitedly. She didn't think that she'd hit the shark with just one hit, making it bleed. Why did I hear a scream? just now. Does a shark scream too? Meng Yao looked at the sea curiously, trying to figure something out. Ugh, I was the one who screamed. Pin Liang explained quickly, shocked. He was worried that Xiaofu wouldn't have died, would he? You screamed? I hit a shark. What's yours? Yushu asked curiously. Well, the shark was in pain, and I saw that it didn't know how to scream, so I screamed for it. Yeah, I screamed for it. Pin Liang explained with a dry laugh. I see. Yushu nodded. Liang Yi, hurry up and get the shark I killed. I want to eat grilled shark meat. Okay. Pin Liang was quite troubled. He'd wanted to show off his skills, but Yushu got there first. What a waste of effort. Pin Liang dove into the water and saw Xiaofu grimacing in pain as he held his forehead. But it didn't look like anything serious. It was just a flesh wound. Pin Liang sighed in relief and pointed at the frozen shark he'd bought from the supermarket. He gestured for Xiaofu to push the shark from behind while he pulled it up himself. Xiaofu endured the pain in his head and helped Pin Liang push the shark ashore. He quickly dove back into the water, looking for a place to go out to sea. This shark's pretty big. Yushu ran to the shark excitedly and poked it with her finger. Huh, why is this shark so cold? It looks like it just came out of the fridge. Chapter 463. Pretend to be a shark a little longer? Is that so? Yushu blinked. She didn't know if sharks were cold-blooded or not, so she decided to believe Pin Liang's explanation for now. Yes. Pin Liang said confidently. Shoo, I'll make roasted shark for you, and Yao Yao now. We can't bring a fire source on the plane, so I brought a solar barbecue grill. I'll show you high-tech food later. Oh, that's great. Hurry up. Yushu was overjoyed at the thought that she could eat roasted shark very soon. Meng Yao, on the other hand, looked at the shark with a weird expression on her face. Why is this shark missing a fin? Wah. Pin Liang's eyes went wide as he looked at the shark on the ground. As expected, the shark was missing a fin, and it looked like it had been cut off by someone. Pin Liang was so pissed off he wanted to curse at the supermarket owner for lying to him. He'd cut off a shark's fin and sold it at such a high price. He was going to get someone to smash his shop. Motherfucker. Shu must have cut off the shark's fin, yes. It must have been smashed by a rock. Pin Liang explained. Really? I'm that good. Yushu didn't believe that she could have cut off the shark's fin. Don't tell me you bought this shark from the supermarket? Meng Yao said as she kicked the shark twice, noticing that it was hard and solid. It was clearly frozen solid. Yeah, Yao Yao. Why does it look like you bought it from the supermarket? Look, there's a price tag in the shark's mouth. Yushu looked at the shark in confusion. Is this the one I killed? Liangzi, are you mistaken? Yes, it's definitely it. Pin Liang glanced at the shark's mouth and saw a white price tag. He gritted his teeth in anger. Was this Xiaofu blind? He didn't see the missing fin, but how could he not see the price tag in the shark's mouth? Pin Liang, however, couldn't say that out loud. He quickly took the price tag out of the shark's mouth with a dry smile and stuffed it into his mouth, chewing it twice before swallowing. This isn't a price tag, it's scallop meat. It was very delicious. As the saying goes, humans die in pursuit of wealth and birds die in pursuit of food. This shark must have swam to the shallow sea to eat the scallops, but it was smashed to death by Little Shu's stone. Pin Liang quickly changed the topic, afraid that the two would see through him again. Scallop meat? So you eat it raw? Meng Yao felt that something was wrong. This is something sharks risk their lives to eat. How can it not be delicious? Ugh. Sorry, I should have left something this delicious for you, Yao Yao. Pin Liang said quickly. Then you should eat by yourself. Don't call me Yao Yao, it sounds weird. Meng Yao reminded. Didn't Shu call you Yao Yao? Pin Liang couldn't help but ask. Shu calls me Yao Yao, sis. Why don't you call me that too? Meng Yao glared at Pin Liang. Forget it then. Pin Liang didn't want to become Ming Yao's little brother. Wouldn't that make it harder for him to pursue her? With a laugh, Pin Liang said, I'm going to roast the shark. All the boys in our class, come over. We'll cut the shark together, and everyone will have a share when it's done. Some of the students were more or less suspicious of the shark in Pin Liang's hand, like Meng Yao and Yu Shu. But when they heard that the shark was going to be roasted later and that everyone would have a share, no one dared to do such a hateful thing. They all started helping Pin Liang, and their disgust towards him lessened a lot. Pin Liang prepared the solar grill and looked around for Xiaofu. After a while, he saw Xiaofu running over with a shirt wrapped around his head. How are you? Pin Liang asked quietly. Luckily, it's just my forehead. It's just a flesh wound. Xiaofu said, Why didn't you hold on a little longer before you went down? I didn't even get to do anything, and you went down already. I'm so embarrassed. I didn't even show my heroic image. Pin Liang complained. Liang bro, I had no choice. Yushu was too fierce. She threw a rock at me, and if I didn't go down quickly, I'd be dead if she threw another rock at me. Xiaofu said with lingering fear, You're right, but who knew why Yushu was so enthusiastic about this? Pin Liang shook his head. Maybe I should pretend to be a shark again later? Xiaofu asked carefully. Sure, we'll talk about it later. Pin Liang nodded. Let's put the grill on the grill first and get ready to roast it. Pin Liang and Xiaofu waited for a while, but the grill didn't heat up. Pin Liang started to panic. What's wrong with this thing? Why isn't it working? There's not enough solar energy, right? Xiaofu looked up at the sun and said carefully. Then what do we do? Pin Liang looked up. It was indeed cloudy. Don't worry, we still have a hand crank. I'll crank it here, and you blow on the charcoal in the grill. It'll be easy as long as it's lit up. Xiaofu said. All right. Pin Liang nodded and started blowing air into the stove while Xiaofu chewed on the booster with all his might. After a while, Pin Liang's mouth was swollen, but there was no smoke coming out of the charcoal. Xiaofu, on the other hand, was shaking until his arms hurt. Why didn't you guys light up the fire? Yushu watched as the boys cut the shark into smaller pieces, and Pin Liang didn't even light up the grill. What kind of grill is this? It's a new model. I bought it on TV, recommended by you bro. Xiaofu said proudly. You believe stuff from TV? Yushu's eyes were wide open. That's... Pin Liang almost kicked Xiaofu to death. He'd thought it was some high-tech product, but it turned out to be an unreliable TV show. Liang bro, don't be mad, it'll be done soon. I'll try harder, Xiaofu said as he increased the speed of his shaking, sweating profusely. Xiaofu, why do you look like a Native American chief? Why is there something on your head? Yushu said as she tried to pull the shirt off Xiaofu's head. Don't. That's what it means to struggle. Look at TV. People who struggle have a piece of cloth on their head. I'm struggling to light the grill. Xiaofu explained quickly. Chapter 464. Chapter 464. With drilling right away. Pin Liang panicked when he heard that Meng Yao was going to find someone else. Fu, didn't you eat breakfast this morning? Put in more effort. I did, but I threw up. No, I didn't throw up, I pooped. Xiaofu said. Ow, Pin Liang's face darkened, feeling a little awkward. Yushu really knew how to rub it in. He pooped, didn't he do it too? Pooped in his pants too? Pin Liang was afraid that Yushu would laugh at him again, so he said, Cut the crap and shake it harder. With that, Pin Liang increased the strength of his breath, blowing at the charcoal in the stove. All right, I'll give it my all. Xiaofu gritted his teeth and increased the speed of his hand. With a bang, a beam of fire shot out of the stove, and Pin Liang howled in pain as the smell of roasted pig hair wafted through the air. Pin Liang's hair was singed, and a part of his face was blackened as well. Fortunately, the fire only lasted for a split second, or the skin on his face would have been burnt off. "Fu, what are you doing?" Pin Liang panicked. "Are you trying to burn me to death?" "Liang bro, weren't you the one who told me to hurry up?" Xiaofu said bitterly. Pin Liang didn't know what to say anymore. He was the one who told Xiaofu to hurry up, after all. With a dark face, he said, then continue. "That was pretty good. And I think we're about to light the stove up. All right, let's work harder." Xiaofu nodded, roaring as he started shaking the pole again. But this time, Pin Liang didn't dare get too close. He could only blow from afar, and the effect was much weaker. Xiaofu shook the stove even faster than before. But without Pin Liang's help, the fire wouldn't come out no matter how hard he tried. With a thud, Xiaofu fell on his butt, sitting on the ground with a groan. Thank goodness he was on the beach, or he'd be in a lot of pain. What the hell? Pin Liang was infuriated. He'd wanted to show off in front of Meng Yao, but problems kept popping up. He either messed up here or there. "It's broken. Brother Liang, the handle is broken." Gao Xiaofu raised the joystick in his hand with a sad face. "Broken?" Pin Liang was infuriated. What kind of trash did Xiaofu buy? What an embarrassment. "Sai, you two are too unreliable." Yushu looked at Pin Liang and Xiaofu, shaking her head in disappointment. She turned around and saw smoke rising from Lin Yi's chimney. "I'll go look for someone else." "Look, they've already started a fire." With that, Yushu ran off, but Pin Liang frowned. The person by the fire was Lin Yi. "Brother Liang, aren't we not allowed to bring a fire source on the plane? Where did he get the fire?" Gao Xiaofu asked curiously. "Yeah, we're not allowed to bring a fire source on the plane. He must have brought it in private. We'll go report him." Pin Liang was pissed after trying to light the fire for a long time. He saw Yushu and Meng Yao run over to Lin Yi's side. He panicked. "Let's go, we'll go look for him." Lin Yi got a few clams and crabs from the sea, planning to roast them. He wasn't interested in shark meat, so he made a fire with some twigs to roast the clams. Lin Yi rarely talked to anyone other than Kong Xiaobo, so no one thought that Lin Yi didn't fit in with the group. "Boss, I got some more clams. Do you think this is enough?" Xiaobo said as he put the clams in his clothes on the beach beside Lin Yi. "It's more than enough for the two of us." Lin Yi said after a glance. "Me too." Xiao Xiao was panicking. "I want to eat too." "Go get it yourself," Lin Yi said faintly as he looked at her. Who did this girl think she was? She wanted to get it for free? "Oh." Xiao Xiao stood up, feeling wronged as she walked to the beach. She wasn't happy. Why was Lin Yi treating her like this? Couldn't he be a little nicer? Xiao Xiao was even more troubled when she got to the beach. Kong Xiaobo had pretty much taken all the clams in the shallow water. It seemed like she'd have to go deeper. Luckily, it wasn't that Xiao Xiao didn't know how to swim. She just wanted Lin Yi to teach her. That was why she said she couldn't swim. Going deeper would be dangerous. "Boss, why don't you go easy on the fairer sex?" Kong Xiaobo felt wronged on Xiao Xiao's behalf. If there was a pretty girl who wanted to eat clams, Kong Xiaobo would be more than happy to give it to her. But now, Xiao Xiao was chasing after Lin Yi. Kong Xiaobo couldn't do that, and Lin Yi wouldn't let Kong Xiaobo do that. "Lin Yi, where'd you get the fire?" Pin Liang was pissed off, and he felt that he was in the right. He was the one who found the plane, so he had the right to question Lin Yi. He was in the right, after all. Lin Yi frowned and looked at Pin Liang. "What's it got to do with you?" "You." Pin Liang was pissed. He was here to question Lin Yi, but he didn't expect Lin Yi to refute him with one sentence. But Pin Liang wasn't going to back down now. He pointed at Lin Yi. "You're not allowed to bring a fire on the plane, and you brought matches and a lighter? Are you trying to put the safety of the whole class at risk? Do you think I won't call the cops on you?" Pin Liang immediately elevated Lin Yi's actions to the safety of the entire class, and the students who thought Pin Liang was a little arrogant and despotic all stood on Pin Liang's side. "Yeah, Bringing a fire with you was the same as screwing everyone over. Which eye of yours saw me bring a lighter and matches? Lin Yi smiled coldly. You're just looking for trouble, aren't you? How did you start a fire without a fire? Pin Liang was sure that Lin Yi used a fire source to start a fire. Otherwise, he wouldn't have any equipment to start a fire. My boss started a fire by drilling wood. Kang Xiaobo was pissed. Pin Liang was accusing Lin Yi of using a lighter or matches to start a fire. Drilling wood to start a fire? Pin Liang paused and laughed. Are you kidding me? Drilling wood to start a fire. Why didn't you say you used a magnifying glass to start a fire? Didn't you learn in primary school? Didn't you know that drilling wood to start a fire? Kang Xiaobo rolled his eyes and ignored Pin Liang. Then drill another one for me to see. If you can't do it, I'll call the cops. Pin Liang shouted angrily. Chapter 465. A real shark. Lin Yi glanced at Yushu, ignoring her. Perform for Pin Liang? Lin Yi, on the other hand, wasn't that bored. He put the clams on the fire rack and started roasting them. Lin Yi, you can start a fire by drilling wood. Meng Yao, who'd been standing on the side, hadn't said a word. Yushu said that Lin Yi could start a fire by drilling wood. Yes. Lin Yi had no choice but to answer since the miss had asked. Then why don't you drill it for us to see? Meng Yao didn't want Lin Yi to get into trouble, and judging from Pin Liang's attitude, he'd probably do what he said. Lin Yi was her follower, and Meng Yao didn't want Lin Yi to get arrested. Oh, okay. Lin Yi found 2 pieces of wood and prepared to start a fire. Wait, why are you standing so far away from me? Perform in front of me if you can. Pin Liang waved his hand to stop Lin Yi, surprised that Lin Yi had agreed to perform. But the easier it was for Lin Yi to agree, the more he was afraid that Lin Yi would do something to it. Do you need me to perform in front of you? Lin Yi thought that Pin Liang could go after Meng Yao if he wanted to, but there was no need for him to get a solar grill. Lin Yi didn't bother with him, but the guy had taken the initiative to target him. Lin Yi was a little puzzled. Was the guy itching for a beating again? Or was he out of his mind? Pin Liang wouldn't have dared to cause trouble for Lin Yi under normal circumstances, but today it was different. He was the one who organized the trip, and he was the one who booked the plane. From a certain perspective, he was the person in charge of the trip. This way, if Lin Yi were to bring a fire source onto the plane, he would have the responsibility to stop and discipline him. That was why Pin Liang dared to do this. Pin Liang wouldn't be this angry if Lin Yi had just admitted to it. At most, he'd scold him a bit and confiscate his fireplace. But Lin Yi was drilling wood to start a fire. Pin Liang had heard of drilling wood to make fire, but he had never seen it before. Also, if wood could really be used to start a fire, then those exploration teams and inspection groups wouldn't have to attach so much importance to their personal fire source. Wouldn't they be able to start a fire by just finding 2 pieces of wood? All right, just put it in my hand and let me see if I can start a fire. Pin Liang was afraid that Lin Yi would do something to it, so he asked for another piece of wood. He didn't believe that Lin Yi could start a fire so easily. Do whatever you want. Don't look for me if you burn up. Lin Yi was just thinking about how to teach this guy a lesson when he didn't expect Pin Liang to take the initiative to crawl under his fingers. All right, I won't look for you. It's my bad luck if I burn up. Everyone is here to testify. Pin Liang laughed coldly. But I'm afraid that you don't have what it takes. Lin Yi didn't say much. He put a piece of wood in Pin Liang's hand and started rubbing the other piece of wood against it. I thought you had some tricks up your sleeves. You'll never be able to make a fire with this kind of method. Pin Liang laughed at Lin Yi's actions. Since you want to make a fool of yourself, then do what you want. Pin Liang thought to himself. He had made a fool of himself today, and now it was Lin Yi's turn. Pin Liang was laughing proudly when he heard a buffed. Then he felt a burning sensation in his palm. Wah! Pin Liang realized that the wood in his hand had been set on fire, and the flames were blazing. It scared him so much that he threw the wood away and started screaming. It's hot! It's hot! Everyone had benefited from Pin Liang, so they couldn't make fun of him. Yushu, on the other hand, didn't care. She started laughing at Pin Liang's funny face. Kong Xiaobo started laughing as well. Pin Liang felt so humiliated that he wanted to jump into the sea. He was just about to find an excuse to leave when he saw a shark fin swimming around in the sea. Pin Liang was overjoyed. This Gao Xiaofu was really something. He came at just the right time. He was pretending to be a shark again, and this time in deep water. Yushu wouldn't be able to throw a rock that far no matter how good she was. Even the Olympic shot put champion wouldn't be able to do it. Another shark attack. Pin Liang yelled, drawing everyone's attention away. Wait for me. I'll come back after I take care of this shark. Pin Liang had already thought of an excuse. He'd kill the shark later, but he didn't plan on dragging the shark back to shore. He couldn't drag it back to shore, since he only bought a frozen shark from the supermarket. He didn't have any left to drag, but he could use the excuse that the shark was deep in the sea, and it was too far for him to drag it back. There was already one shark, and he couldn't finish it. He didn't need another one. In order to avoid the awkwardness of drilling wood to start a fire, Pin Liang sprinted into the sea and charged the shark. You bold shark, Liang bro will take care of you. Yushu had gotten the first move, and Pin Liang couldn't let it slip again. He had to get rid of the shark as soon as possible before Yushu made another move. Uff! Lin, he almost burst out laughing at Pin Liang's reactive. This shark was a real shark after all. He couldn't help but admire Pin Liang's bravery. Liang bro, where are you going? Xiaofu was shocked as he watched Pin Liang run away. He wasn't the one who pretended to be the shark, so... Xiaofu thought of a scary possibility. Pin Liang, on the other hand, was already far away and couldn't hear Xiaofu's shout at all. He was still charging forward passionately, but he froze when he was about to reach the shark. That was because he saw the shark opening its bloody mouth towards him. Wah! Pin Liang stopped. Xiaofu? The shark didn't reply, but swam towards Pin Liang with its mouth open. It was a shark attracted by the smell of blood. Xiaofu's head was bleeding, and the boys in the class had used seawater to wash the shark's meat. So the shark had snuck in through the hole Pin Liang had made in the security line. Oh my God! Pin Liang realized that this wasn't Xiaofu at all. It was a real shark. Pin Liang was scared, and with a scream, he swam towards the shore, pissing his pants. This time he used all his strength and started running. Although it was a little shameful, it was nothing compared to losing his life. Chapter 466. Lin Yi makes a move because of her concentration. Xiao Xiao didn't realize that the shark wasn't far from her, and that Pin Liang was drawing it over. Pin Liang, on the other hand, saw Xiao Xiao and his eyes lit up. He quickly swam towards Xiao Xiao's direction, trying to draw the shark's attention to Xiao Xiao. Pin Liang wouldn't have dared to do this under normal circumstances, since he was very afraid of Xiao Xiao. But now that his life was in danger, he had to do it. He was about to be bitten by a shark, so what did he care about? If he could divert the shark's attention and make it attack Xiao Xiao, he'd be free. As expected, the shark's attention was drawn to Xiao Xiao, and it swam towards her. Boss, that shark. Kong Xiaobo started, pointing at where the shark was swimming toward Xiao Xiao. Lin Yi frowned. Naturally, he'd seen the shark get drawn to Xiao Xiao's side. Lin Yi didn't care if Pin Liang got bitten to death by the shark or not. It was better if he was dead. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, was someone Lin Yi didn't have a good impression of, but he didn't hate her either. If she'd been eaten by a shark for no reason, Lin Yi would have sympathized with her. It was one thing if they didn't know each other, but she was his desk mate after all, and they'd been messing around for so long. Lin Yi still had some feelings for her, and he had no choice but to stand up and walk towards the beach. Xiao Xiao, you dumb girl, get out of the way. Lin Yi couldn't help but yell. Ah. Xiao Xiao blinked at Lin Yi's words. She looked up to see Pin Liang swimming towards her with a shark right behind him. Xiao Xiao's face changed. She'd seen through the fake shark Pin Liang made with Lin Yi's warning. But this one was obviously a real shark, or Pin Liang wouldn't be this fast. But wasn't this guy a little too evil? Why did he have to run towards him? Wasn't it obvious that he was trying to attract the shark's attention to him? Xiao Xiao was infuriated and scared, but she was hesitant. The bracelet that her mother had left for her was lost here. If she ran away now, it would be difficult to locate it later, and the hope of finding it would be even slimmer. What are you thinking about? Lin Yi was getting a little exasperated. Xiao Xiao was usually a smart girl, so why was she so dumb at critical moments? My bracelet, Xiao Xiao said. Lin Yi fainted. He was already dead, and he was still looking for the bracelet? What kind of thinking was that? But Xiao Xiao didn't move. Even if she ran back, it'd be too late. Lin Yi could only jump into the sea with his clothes on. Pin Liang's life and death had nothing to do with Lin Yi but this idiot Xiao Xiao. Lin Yi didn't want her to die. Xiao Xiao was a little shocked. She didn't think that Lin Yi would jump into the sea to save her. She couldn't believe it. Was this really Lin Yi? Lin Yi swam over quickly, ignoring Xiao Xiao. The shark was already swimming over, and Pin Liang was hiding behind Xiao Xiao like a coward. Lin Yi was very familiar with dealing with sharks. They were in deep water, but Lin Yi's feet were still on the bottom. He could use his strength as a golden class late phase peak to kill the shark with one punch, but that would be too much of a shock, so Lin Yi decided to use the same method as last time. After a punch, he'd use the branch in his hand to stab the shark's cheek. The shark was taken care of by Lin Yi very cleanly. Pin Liang and Xiao Xiao were the most shocked. Pin Liang didn't think that Lin Yi could take care of a shark so easily, while he himself was his enemy. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, was shocked by Lin Yi's strength. He didn't seem to be sloppy at all, and that made Ping Zhan spend a lot of money to hire him. As for the other students in the class, they'd seen Yushu killing a shark with a cobblestone before, and most of them thought that sharks were easy to kill, so they weren't all that shocked when Lin Yi killed another shark. Are you trying to kill me? Xiao Xiao snapped back to reality, and the first thing she did was send a kick at Pin Liang's crotch, making him cry out in pain. His eyes rolled back, and he almost fell into the sea. Xiao Xiao had used a lot of strength in that kick. She was pissed off to the max. This Pin Liang was basically trying to kill her. What was the difference between that and murder? And so, Xiao Xiao didn't hold back at all. Pin Liang deserved to be kicked to death. Pin Liang knew that he was in the wrong, and even though the pain was unbearable, he still held his crotch and carefully went back to the shore. He sat on the beach, unable to speak, his face pale. Xiaofu quickly ran over to comfort him. At this moment, no one in the class was sympathizing with Pin Liang anymore. What Pin Liang did before was simply too immoral. He couldn't fight the shark himself, so he lured it to someone else. Wasn't that a little too much? It wasn't hard to imagine that if the person in the sea hadn't been Xiao Xiao, but someone else, would Pin Liang have lured the shark over? If it weren't for Lin Yi's timely arrival, wouldn't the person in the sea be in the fish's stomach? Dumb girl, why didn't you run? Lin Yi was a little annoyed that Xiao Xiao didn't run. If she had run, he wouldn't have had to go into the water. Now that he was all wet, it was really uncomfortable. My mom left me a bracelet. Xiao Xiao remembered that she hadn't found it yet. She couldn't care less about the shark's blood in the water. She crouched down to look for it. What bracelet? You don't even want your life anymore? Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It's something my mom left for me. Xiao Xiao looked at Lin Yi a little embarrassed, but she didn't look away. This bracelet was too important to her. She didn't want to lose it. Something. It was Lin Yi's turn to be surprised, but it was just as Xiao Xiao said. Lin Yi understood why Xiao Xiao would risk her life to look for the bracelet. What Lin he didn't expect was that Xiao Xiao didn't have a mother. My mom left when I was really young. Xiao Xiao shook her head, a faint sadness in her eyes. Chapter 467. Chapter 467. Pinliang's new plan. What are you doing? Xiao Xiao jumped, not expecting Lin Yi to be so bold as to hold her hand. She wanted to move away subconsciously, but she didn't manage to. Lin Yi didn't say anything. He put something in Xiao Xiao's hand and left. A bracelet? Xiao Xiao looked at the thing Lin Yi put down, speechless. She'd been looking for it for so long, and Lin Yi just casually touched the water and found it? Xiao Xiao looked at Lin Yi's back in disbelief. Her eyes filled with disbelief. She didn't understand Lin Yi at all. Lin Yi wasn't a treasure hunter or anything. How would he be able to find the bracelet Xiao Xiao threw into the water under normal circumstances? Lin Yi was just using Xiao Xiao's faint hostility towards him. And through the jade sensing ability, he found something with Xiao Xiao's presence in the sea. It was just a normal function of the jade, and Lin Yi often used it in the battlefield to find out what his enemies were hiding. Of course, this function only worked on people who were hostile to him. It didn't work on anyone else. The spring outing ended peacefully with Pinliang's farce. In the evening, the students in the class took the seaplane back to Songshan City. Pinliang's face was pale as he sat next to Xiaofu. The two didn't try to sit in the last row anymore, instead choosing to sit behind everyone else in the middle of the cabin. The spring outing was a perfect plan, and now it's ruined. Pinliang realized that everything was going wrong. No matter what he did, it always ended in failure. If this went on, he might even think that he was possessed by the god of misfortune. Liang bro, I'm sorry, I didn't warn you in time when that shark came. Xiaofu said, a little guilty. It's fine, I was too impatient. Pinliang waved his hand. I'm afraid Mingyao's impression of me is even worse now. She thinks I'm a coward, trying to lure danger to a woman. I'm done for, there's no hope left. Brother Liang, don't give up. There's still hope. Xiaofu tried to calm Pinliang down. In fact, even he himself thought that Pinliang's chances were slim. Really? Is there still hope? Pinliang was like a drowning man clutching at the last straw. He knew it was hopeless, but he didn't want to give up. Yes, Gao Xiaofu hesitated for a moment before saying, Brother Liang, I think you should force yourself on her. Force yourself on me? Pinliang paused, looking at Xiaofu in shock. You're saying that's right. Gao Xiaofu was just saying it casually, but after saying it, even he felt that it was a good idea. So he continued, Brother Liang, it's already April, and there are only 2 months left before the college entrance examination. Time is tight, and if you don't hurry up, I'm afraid that your chances will be even slimmer after you enter university. What if Meng Yao finds someone else after she goes to university? Yeah, you're right. Pinliang nodded. But isn't it too risky to force yourself on her? Meng Yao's family isn't normal, and I'm afraid that it'll backfire. Pinliang had given Ruoming a similar idea before, telling him to force himself on Tang Yin, but that was only for girls with no background. Meng Yao, on the other hand, was different. Ping Zhan wouldn't let him off the hook if he really did force himself on Meng Yao. That's not true. Xiaofu waved his hand mysteriously. Think about it, Liang bro. What do the people in the upper class care about the most? Its reputation. And if Meng Yao really becomes yours, would she dare to sue you? Even if she wanted to, Ping Zhan might not agree to it. This is related to his daughter's reputation for life. If this gets out, how is Meng Yao going to get married? That's true. But how can I guarantee that Peng Zhan won't do something to me in the dark? Pinliang hesitated, still worried. Isn't that easy? First, Meng Yao's already yours, and I don't believe that she won't care about all this. As long as she cares, you can take advantage of the situation and break through her mental defenses. Xiaofu said confidently. Secondly, Liang bro, you have to go to Pengzhan's company and spread the word that Meng Yao's already yours, that you're his son-in-law. Let everyone know about this, and Pengzhan won't be able to do anything to you even if he wants to, since everyone knows about this. He'll have to acknowledge you as his son-in-law to avoid being laughed at, Xiaofu said confidently. I say, Xiaofu, you're pretty good, aren't you? Pin Liang listened to Xiaofu's analysis and felt that it was true. It was a great idea if he did it right. Of course, Liang bro, you can do this if you're really afraid of something happening. Xiaofu was getting more and more excited. Lock Meng Yao up first, then go to Pengzhan's place and say that Meng Yao's already yours. See how he reacts. If he acknowledges you as his son-in-law, then go back and cook the rice. If he doesn't, then let Meng Yao go and tell him that it's just a joke. That way, the risk will be much lower. Xiaofu, I really didn't realize that you're so smart. Pin Liang was a little worried before, but calmed down after hearing Xiaofu's instructions. There was no risk at all. Ha, it's all thanks to your training, Liang bro. Xiaofu smiled, pleased with himself. Man, this thing down there got kicked by Xiao Xiao and it's all swollen now. Looks like I won't be able to use it anytime soon. I can't force myself on her either. Pin Liang said, a little regretful. Xiao Xiao gripped the bracelet in her hand tightly. She needed to reevaluate Lin Yi's strength. She'd underestimated Lin Yi too much before, resulting in her losing time and time again. It seemed that making Lin Yi fall in love with her wasn't an easy task. Lin Yi had saved her today, but Xiao Xiao could tell that Lin Yi didn't save her because he liked her at all. It was out of pity. And so, Xiao Xiao felt that she needed to adjust her plan a little. If she kept chasing Lin Yi like this, Lin Yi would never like her for the rest of his life. It seemed that she had to do something. Chapter 468. Chapter 468. Xiao Xiao's confession. No, he'd saved her. But how could she let go of the humiliation she'd suffered? Absolutely not. She was Xiao Xiao. When had she ever been so irresolute? She'd already made up her mind to make him pay, so she'd keep her word. It was Monday morning, and Lin Yi brought the freshly made shark fins to Mr. Tang. It wasn't much of a delicacy for Meng Yao and Yushu after all. Mr. Tang naturally was very happy. He couldn't stop smiling when he saw the shark fins Lin Yi had brought. Mrs. Tang, on the other hand, was happy as well. Lin Yi's appearance had changed the family for the better. Lin Yi, I've thought about it, and I've decided to buy a retail store after the relocation. It might cost a bit more, but it'll be enough to open a barbecue shop. Mrs. Tang said. This was the decision she'd made after hearing from Tang Yin that Lin Yi wanted her to open a shop. That's a good thing. Lin Yi nodded. With a shop in front and a home behind, we don't have to worry about a place to live. Yeah. Mrs. Tang paused for a moment before continuing, but I might not be able to return the money I borrowed from you so soon. We've made some money these days, and with the money from old Tang's surgery, it should be enough to pay for the store. Mrs. Tang knew that Tang Yin wouldn't be able to say it herself, so she might as well say it herself. Even if Lin Yi rejected her, it didn't matter. She'd be the one losing face anyway. You don't have to return that money. Lin Yi smiled. Let me know if it's not enough. It's enough, it's enough. Mrs. Tang said with a smile after hearing Lin Yi's words. Old Tang, I told you Lin Yi would be fine. That's good. Tang Juqing let out a breath of relief. He was indeed worried. Lin Yi and Tang Yin were friends, but they were only boyfriend and girlfriend. They weren't engaged or married, so Tang Juqing didn't feel comfortable owing Lin Yi so much money. Mom, why are you all so greedy? Tang Yin wasn't very happy. Although she didn't feel that way about Lin Yi giving money to her family anymore, she still felt that she owed it to Lin Yi. If his parents couldn't pay back the money, it would still fall on him in the end. What if he couldn't pay back the money? How was he supposed to return it? This child, what do you mean by greedy? Isn't it difficult at home? Mrs. Tang glared at her daughter, thinking, you really don't know how to use your resources. Lin Yi is so generous. Can't you just ask for more? At that time, he would also buy a bigger retail store at home and even buy the first and second floors. Tang Yin pouted and lowered her head. She couldn't win against her mother in an argument, and even if she did, her mother might say something embarrassing. So, Tang Yin decided to keep quiet. All right, Uncle Tang. Auntie Tang, I'm going to school with Tang Yin. Lin Yi smiled as he smoothed things over. Okay, it's about time you guys go. Mrs. Tang smiled as she sent Tang Yun and Lin Yi to the door. When Lin Yi left, he gave Mrs. Tang a bank card. Mrs. Tang paused for a second, then put it into her pocket with a smile. She knew that Lin Yi gave it to her, and he did it behind Tang Yun's back, which meant that the money was free and not borrowed. There wasn't any evidence, and Tang Yin didn't see it, other than giving Mr. Tang shark fin. Lin Yi also came to give Mrs. Tang this card. He wanted Mrs. Tang to open up the barbecue shop as soon as possible, reducing Tang Yun's burden. What did you just give my mom? Tang Yun's eyes were sharp and she noticed something. It's nothing. Lin Yi smiled. Did you secretly give her money? Tang Yin wasn't stupid, and she could roughly guess what he was doing. No, a small accessory, Lin Yi said casually. Oh, Tang Yin let out a breath of relief. She was afraid that she owed Lin Yi too much, and she wouldn't be able to pay it back in the future. Lin Yi drove Tang Yin to school and parked the car at the food street. Xiao Xiao's Audi TT followed them and stopped beside Lin Yi's car. Xiao Xiao took over another stall on the food street, and the vendors didn't dare say anything, because Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi knew each other. Who would want to mess with her? Honey! Xiao Xiao stopped the car and waved at Lin Yi. Wah! Lin Yi's eyes went wide as he looked at Xiao Xiao, confused. Was there something wrong with this girl? Calling him honey? Tang Yun's face darkened as she looked at Xiao Xiao strangely. Xiao Xiao had already shown that she was too close to Lin Yi in the cafeteria, and that made Tang Yin uncomfortable. Now she was calling Lin Yi honey right in front of her. What did she think she was? Lin Yi, didn't you say you were going to talk to her? Xiao Xiao ran over and grabbed Lin Yi's arm. You liar! You told me yesterday that you were going to give her a breakup fee and break up with her. Why are you still with her? Xiao Xiao, what's wrong with you? Lin Yi was about to explode at Xiao Xiao's weird words. Lin Yi, I think I'm pregnant. Can you take me to the hospital for a checkup? Xiao Xiao didn't answer Lin Yi's question. Tang Yin frowned as she looked at Xiao Xiao. From what she knew of Lin Yi, she didn't believe Xiao Xiao's words, but anyone would be suspicious if they heard something like this. What's going on? Didn't Lin Yi give you a breakup fee? Xiao Xiao looked at Tang Yin, confused. I've known Lin Yi for a long time, and I wanted to make you a mistress out of pity, sharing Lin Yi with you. But you didn't know what was good for you, so I had to make Lin Yi be with you for nothing. Tang Yin paused. She didn't really believe Xiao Xiao's words, but Xiao Xiao said it so confidently that Tang Yin couldn't help but be suspicious. One had to know that reputation was very important to a girl, and Xiao Xiao didn't even have a boyfriend. Why would she throw dirty water on herself and say something like that? Seeing that all the students were looking at them, Tang Yin felt her face heat up. Xiao Xiao's words were obviously meant to embarrass her, and even if she was lying, Tang Yin still felt uncomfortable. Did this make the students think that she was trying to steal her man? Tang Yin never thought that she would become the main character of a love triangle. Lin Yi talked to her first. I'm leaving. Come find me after class. Tang Yin didn't want to see the weird looks people were giving her, so she said to Lin Yi and quickly walked back to school. Lin Yi, on the other hand, looked at Xiao Xiao with a dark face. What do you want? Chapter 469. Chapter 469. Something happened to Fun Xiaoxiao decided to take the initiative and cause some trouble for Lin Yi. Lin Yi looked at Xiaoxiao confused. A hero saving a damsel in distress was the most vulgar part of the story, but it was also something that could easily move a man's heart. But Lin Yi didn't think that yesterday's scene could move Xiaoxiao that much. He'd saved Tang Yin a couple of times already, and she didn't even want to marry him. Their relationship was only formed after spending a long time together. The miss, on the other hand, didn't need to be mentioned. He'd saved her many times, and she never expressed anything. As a result, Lin Yi didn't think that saving a damsel in distress would make Xiaoxiao confess to him on her own accord. Lin Yi, you're the most charming man I've ever met. Xiaoxiao blushed as she looked at Lin Yi, her eyes blurry. But before Lin Yi could say anything, the phone rang. It was Lin Yi. Sorry, I'll take this call first. Lin Yi made a hand gesture to Xiaoxiao before picking up the call. Xiaoxiao was furious. She'd never been so humble to a man before. She was Xiaoxiao. She'd sworn that in her short life, she'd never lower her head to anyone. She'd live a life of her own free will. But now, Lin Yi was picking up the phone when she'd finally gotten the courage to confess to him. She couldn't take it anymore. She raised her foot, aiming to step on Lin Yi's foot. Lin Yi thought to himself, why did girls always like to step on other people's feet? He subconsciously moved back, and Xiaoxiao stepped on empty air. She'd used too much force, and with a crack, her high heel broke. Ah! Xiaoxiao was panicking. She glared at Lin Yi. Step on it, or I won't let you answer the phone. As he spoke, he tried to snatch the phone from Lin Yi's hand. Lin Yi frowned, thinking that Xiaoxiao was messing around a little, but seeing how furious she was, Lin Yi decided to let her be. He stretched out his leg and picked up the phone. Hello. I stomp. I stomp. I stomp, stomp, stomp. Xiaoxiao stomped on Lin Yi's foot, but the pain was nothing to Lin Yi. Xiaoxiao, on the other hand, was having a hard time with her giggling. Boss Xiaofan was caught. Just when Lin Yi picked up the phone, Kong Xiaobo's panicked voice came from the other side. Xiaofan was caught. What's going on? Lin Yi paused and ignored Xiaoxiao, frowning as he listened to the phone. Boss, it's like this. I woke up this morning and went to Xiaofan's house to have breakfast with her. Kong Xiaobo said, a little embarrassed. I wake up early every morning. Yeah, get to the point. Who caught Xiaofan? Lin Yi understood Kong Xiaobo's modus operandi. Men and women in love were always passionate, so Lin Yi wouldn't stop Kong Xiaobo from working hard every morning. After all, didn't he still go to Tang Yan's place early in the morning? This morning, Xiaofan was waiting for me on the bench near the breakfast stall, like usual. But I usually get there first, but there was a traffic jam this morning, so I got there a little late. Kong Xiaobo said. When I got out of the car, I saw Xiaofan being caught by two men into a white van without a license plate. I was shocked and quickly called a taxi to follow them. I followed them to the entrance of a compound, but the taxi driver only stopped nearby and didn't dare to go in. Hearing Kong Xiaobo's words, Lin Yi sighed. He couldn't understand why these people caught Xiaofan. Could it be that they were sent by Kong Mingming? Where are you? I'll go right now. Lin Yi asked. There's a road sign here. It says Dunmeng Street Sub 7, but there doesn't seem to be anyone passing by, so it should be the suburbs, Kong Xiaobo said. I spent around 300 yuan on the taxi, so it should be the suburbs far away. Okay, don't do anything rash. Wait for me, Lin Yi said. Keep in touch. Okay, boss. Hurry up. I'm afraid they'll do something bad to Xiaofan if I'm late. Kong Xiaobo said. Don't worry. I'm here. Nothing will happen, Lin Yi said. After hanging up the call with Kong Xiaobo, Lin Yi ignored Xiaoxiao and turned to get in the car. But he saw Xiaoxiao's Audi TT. Lin Yi hesitated. Lend me your car. In terms of speed, There was no way his van could catch up to Xiao Xiao's sports car. After all, there was the engine. Even if he stepped on the gas pedal, the car couldn't turn into a plane. The place Kong Xiaobo mentioned was a place Lin Yi had never heard of, and since Kong Xiaobo spent 300 yuan on the taxi, excluding the possibility of the car taking a detour, it was more than 100 kilometers away. It wasn't close at all. Ah. Xiao Xiao blinked. Why did he only think of her when he wanted to borrow the car? Why did he ignore her before? Xiao Xiao humphed. I can borrow the car, but I have to be in the car. Follow if you're not afraid of danger. Lin Yi didn't have time to bullshit with Xiao Xiao. The situation wasn't clear right now, and 1 minute late meant 1 minute more danger. Lin Yi didn't want to waste time trying to convince Xiao Xiao. I'm not. Xiao Xiao nodded. The more dangerous and exciting it is, the more I like it. You're quite special. No wonder you like racing. Lin Yi shook his head. Give me the keys. Xiao Xiao obediently took out the keys, but didn't give them to Lin Yi. Instead, she unlocked the door. I'll give it to you in the car. What if you leave me behind? Huh? Lin Yi smiled bitterly. I don't lie to my friends. You think I'm your friend? Xiao Xiao was a little excited at Lin Yi's words. Just a normal friend. Neither good nor bad. Lin Yi was being truthful. He didn't have any bad feelings toward Xiao Xiao, nor did he have any good feelings towards her. In his eyes, she was just a spoiled girl who liked to cause trouble. Why would he bother with her? Carry me, or else we'll waste time. One of Xiao Xiao's shoes was broken, so she couldn't walk fast. Lin Yi looked at her and casually picked her up with one arm, placing her in the passenger seat. Xiao Xiao was a little shocked. She didn't know that Lin Yi's body was this strong. He could carry her with one arm? Lin Yi got in the car and took the keys from Xiao Xiao. He started the car and said to her, navigate to Dunming Street, number 7. Chapter 470. Chapter 470. Private territory. Is it okay to run a red light? Lin Yi asked. This was Xiao Xiao's car after all. It's fine. Xiao Xiao naturally didn't care about the fine. Lin Yi nodded. Sit tight and fasten your seatbelt. Xiao Xiao didn't think much of Lin Yi telling her to fasten her seatbelt in the city. But the next moment, she realized that it was a good thing she did. She'd been driving for a long time, but she'd never seen an Audi TT this performance. It made her feel like she'd wasted her time on it. In the city, Lin Yi took every chance he got, not only ignoring the red lights, but even ignoring the traffic police signaling for him to stop. That's amazing. Xiao Xiao was excited. Why can't I be this amazing? Even the traffic police can't stop you. I'm going to save someone. You're just racing for the thrill. It's different, Lin Yi said faintly as he glanced at the rearview mirror. There were 2 police cars behind them. Lin Yi was a bit speechless, but thinking about it, his actions were no different from racing. It was normal to get police cars. Whoa, there's police cars behind us. Lin Yi, we have to lose them. Xiao Xiao wasn't scared at all, but excited instead. I've only seen something like this in Need for Speed. Lin Yi rolled his eyes. He'd guessed that Xiao Xiao's background wasn't normal. She'd been able to go from high school to high school, so she must have a lot of power behind her. It was understandable that Xiao Xiao didn't care about being chased by police cars. But Lin Yi didn't want any trouble. His first goal was to save someone, not deal with police cars. What's your license plate? Song AFX 520. What's wrong? Xiao Xiao asked subconsciously. FX 520? Lin Yi thought to himself. That plate was pretty special. Feng Xiao, I love you? But this also proved that Xiao Xiao's family wasn't simple at all, being able to get a plate like this. This was much harder to get than a plate with 3 8s or 3 6s. But Lin Yi didn't say much and took out his phone to call Lingshan. Ling Shan hadn't been home for a couple of days now. She was in the police force organizing the experts to analyze the organ trafficking case. Seeing Lin Yi's phone call, he thought that Lin Yi had some clues, so he quickly picked it up. Miss Braindead, my car plate is Song AFX 520. There's a police car chasing after me. Tell them to stop. Lin Yi hung up before Ling Shan could reply. Ah. Ling Shan stared blankly at the phone, her face filled with anger. This Lin Yi. How dare he order him to do things? The next time I see him, I must beat him until his face is full of bumps. Ling Shan wasn't happy, but she didn't want to piss Lin Yi off. She called the traffic police, telling them that the AFX 520 was on duty and telling them to stop chasing. As expected, not long after Lin Yi made the call, the police cars behind them disappeared, and when they passed by the traffic police station, there were no more traffic police to stop them. Lin Yi, you're too amazing, aren't you? You did it with one phone call. Xiao Xiao's eyes widened in shock. She had some background, but even she couldn't make all the traffic police ignore her with one phone call. I'm in a hurry to save someone, Lin Yi said faintly. Don't put me in the same category as a spoiled brat like you. Hee, no matter what, you're still very handsome. Xiao Xiao waved her fist excitedly. Right, who's Miss Brain Dead? A friend of mine, Lin Yi said. Then why is she called Miss Brain Dead? Is she retarded? Xiao Xiao asked, confused. It's my nickname for her, Lin Yi explained helplessly. It wasn't a good nickname to tell people. Then why don't you give me a nickname too? Xiao Xiao felt that someone Lin Yi would give her a nickname had to be really close. Otherwise, why would Lin Yi do it with one phone call? Lin Yi was going crazy. Who would ask someone to give her a nickname? Lin Yi ignored her and kept his mouth shut. Lin Yi realized that Xiao Xiao was the type of person who'd shine with a bit of sunshine and flood with a bit of water. The more he talked to her, the more trouble she'd have. Lin Yi decided not to talk to her anymore. Xiao Xiao saw that Lin Yi was ignoring her and looked out the window, feeling wronged. When they were almost at Dunming Street, Lin Yi's phone vibrated. It was a text. Boss, I can't wait anymore. I'm going in first. They might do something to Fun. The text was from Kong Xiaobo. Lin Yi frowned. This Kong Xiaobo couldn't hold it in, going into the tiger's lair by himself. Wasn't he just causing trouble? But Lin Yi understood Kong Xiaobo's feelings. Anyone in this situation wouldn't be able to hold it in if their loved one was kidnapped. Lin Yi called Kong Xiaobo, and sure enough, the phone was turned off. It seemed that Kong Xiaobo had made up his mind. There was only a compound that looked like a factory near Dunming Street 7. Lin Yi didn't see any other buildings as he drove closer. This was the outskirts of the city, and other than the barren land, there was only a building a long distance away. Who's there? As soon as Lin Yi's car reached the entrance of the compound, two bulky men came out and blocked Lin Yi's way. Tourists. Lin Yi pretended to be scared, but he was calculating in his heart. This place was heavily guarded, and it didn't look like something Kong Mingming had done. If Kong Mingming just wanted to capture Fun for revenge or to vent his anger, he wouldn't have created such a heavily guarded place. Could it be another group of people? But Lin Yi was curious. Why did these people want to capture Fun? Fun shouldn't have offended anyone. This is private property. Don't walk around here. Leave. The bulky man looked at Lin Yi's car and saw that it was a sports car with a man and a woman in it. He believed that it was a couple, so he didn't mind and waved his hand impatiently, telling them to leave. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Lin Yi started the car, and it seemed like he was going to reverse, but he suddenly stepped on the accelerator and crashed into the two bulky men. Bang, bang, dash, two loud noises were heard, and the two bulky men were sent flying. They fell to the ground with blood flowing out of their mouths. Chapter 471. Chapter 471. Crash inside the courtyard, in the 3 tile-roofed houses in the middle. A fierce-looking, one-eyed man kicked Kong Xiaobo's butt, sending him tumbling to the ground. "You're sneaking around like a bad guy. You're not a reporter, are you?" Kong Xiaobo was the unluckier one. He was afraid of being discovered by the 2 guards at the front door, so he climbed the wall from the side to enter the courtyard. His strategy wasn't a problem, but the one-eyed man was peeing at the foot of the wall when he climbed the wall. Kong Xiaobo jumped down, startling him so much that he stopped peeing. The one-eyed man was furious and dragged Kong Xiaobo into the tile-roofed house. "Where's Xiaofun? Where did you take Xiaofun? Who are you people?" Since he was caught, Kong Xiaobo threw caution to the wind. He straightened his neck, looking like he was ready to die a martyr's death. "Xiaofun." The one-eyed man froze. "What Xiaofun? What the hell are you doing? You caught my girlfriend, and you're asking me what I'm doing?" Kong Xiaobo raged. "What are you doing? Your girlfriend? She can't be the cripple that was sent here, right?" The one-eyed man remembered the cripple that had been sent here earlier. "Where is she? Let her go." Kong Xiaobo wasn't afraid of anything now that he'd thrown caution to the wind. "If you don't let us go, my boss will be here, and it'll be your death sentence." "Huh." The one-eyed man laughed as if he'd heard the funniest joke in the world. "Your boss? Who do you think your boss is? Our death sentence? Since you're with that cripple, then you can be locked up together. Since you refused to take the path to heaven and chose to walk into hell, then you can be a husband and wife. I'll cut off your organs and let you share the joys and sorrows." "Ha ha." 2 loud bangs came from the yard as soon as the one-eyed man finished, followed by a series of screams. Then silence. What happened? One-Eyed Dragon suddenly became alert and asked a man next to him, "Ertzi, lock this guy in the basement first. Is it a cop?" "My boss is here. You're dead meat." Kong Xiaobo had an inexplicable confidence in Lin Yi. If Lin Yi came, then he and Xiaofin would be out of danger. "Your boss?" One-Eyed Dragon breathed a sigh of relief. As long as it was not the police, it would be easy. He said to his men, "Biaozi and Fei Zi at the door should have been dealt with. Let's go out and see." "Then this kid?" Erzi pointed at Kong Xiaobo and asked, "If you want to leave it here, he won't be able to run out even if the door is locked." One-Eyed Dragon said indifferently, "Take this guy and go out to see which idiot came to offer his kidney." "All right." Erzi took out a shotgun from the mezzanine of a table in the house and held it in his hand. He then walked out of the tile-roofed house with One-Eyed Dragon, but the scene in front of them shocked them. Biaozi and Fei Zi were lying on the ground in a terrible state, their faces covered in blood. They were clearly dying. Looking at the yard, there was only an Audi TT sports car left. Biaozi and Fei Zi were obviously hit by this car. Mother ** Kerr, kill them. One-Eyed Dragon panicked. This yard was usually guarded by the 4 of them, and now 2 of them were killed by a car. How could he tolerate it? They have guns. Xiao Xiao said in panic as she saw One-Eyed Dragon and Erzi coming out of the house. "Ha, I told you that it's dangerous. If you're afraid, I'll leave the car with you. You can drive back now." Lin Yi looked at the pale Xiao Xiao and said faintly, "I promise that no one will chase you." I'm not leaving." Xiao Xiao didn't dare to drive away by herself. She knew that following Lin Yi was the safest, and although she was a little scared, she was also a little excited. Lin Yi was like a lone hero in a movie, charging into the headquarters of a criminal organization all by himself, ready to wipe them out in one fell swoop. Lin Yi didn't say much. The moment Erzi raised his gun, he stepped on the accelerator, and the car spun in an S shape in the yard. With a bang, Erzi was sent flying, and the gun was nowhere to be seen. Lin Yi didn't want to reveal too much of his strength in front of Xiao Xiao, so using the car to hit people was the best solution. One-Eyed Dragon thought that with the gun out, the people in the car in front of him would obediently surrender. After all, normal people would have an instinctive fear when they saw a gun. As long as they weren't desperados, they wouldn't act rashly. So he didn't think that Lin Yi would still dare to drive and hit Z, who was holding a gun away. Feeling that the situation wasn't good, he wanted to run. He was only being paid to be a guard, and he didn't want to do something like this. He didn't want the money, he just wanted to run. But the next moment, his vision went black and he fell to the ground, unconscious. Lin Yi took off his belt and tied his hands, then used Z's belt to tie his legs and threw him to the side. Lin Yi had killed 3 of them already, and naturally, he wouldn't leave no survivors. This one-eyed man seemed to be the leader of the group, and so Lin Yi knocked him out when he tried to run away. Xiao Xiao's eyes were wide open as she looked at Lin Yi's smooth movements, full of admiration and excitement. If Xiao Xiao was admiring Lin Yi's driving skills before, now she was admiring Lin Yi as a person. Xiao Xiao knew that even her father's bodyguards wouldn't be able to do it as cleanly as Lin Yi, taking care of the people in the yard so easily. Lin Yi walked to the tile-roofed house in the yard and kicked the door to pieces. The windows of the tile-roofed house weren't transparent, so Kong Xiaobo couldn't see what was going on outside. He jumped at the sound, but when he saw who it was, he was excited. "Boss, you're here." "You punk, couldn't you wait for me? What if something happened?" Lin Yi scolded Kong Xiaobo. "Where's Fun?" "I don't know, but from what they said, I think she's locked in the basement." Kong Xiaobo said, "Oh, did they say why they want to capture her?" Lin Yi said as he kicked open a door in the house. There was an entrance to the basement. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He was overthinking things, thinking that the basement would be hidden. He didn't expect it to be right in front of him, but thinking about the skills of Cyclops and the others, Lin Yi understood. Chapter 472. The Hideout of a Criminal Organization. No. But I think they said something like they were going to give us their kidneys. Something about cutting out Fun and me's organs and making us suffer together, Xiaobo said with a shake of his head. Oh. Lin Yi paused. Kidney? Organs? Could this be the hideout of the organ trafficking organization? It couldn't be that coincidental, could it? Thinking back to what Lingshan had told him, that the organization targeted beggars, homeless people, and the disabled. Lin Yi realized that Xiaobo was a disabled person, wasn't she? The people in the slums weren't rich, either. It was possible that they'd be targeted by the organ trafficking organization. Lin Yi kicked the door open, but Kong Xiaobo rushed in first. Lin Yi shook his head. Kong Xiaobo was too impatient, and he didn't know if there were more people in the basement. But Lin Yi's jade didn't warn him, so Lin Yi didn't stop him. Xiaobo. Fun wasn't expecting Kong Xiaobo to show up here. How did you get here? Fun's first thought was that Kong Xiaobo had been captured as well, but thinking about it, the door was kicked open. Could it be that Kong Xiaobo was here to save her? But there were 4 bulky men guarding here. So how did Kong Xiaobo get here? Fun raised her head and saw Lin Yi's silhouette at the door. She immediately understood that Kong Xiaobo must have gotten here with Lin Yi's help. But Fun was very touched. Although there was Lin Yi's help, Kong Xiaobo risked his life to save her, and that was enough to make her happy. To have a man who loved and cared for her like this, Fun felt that she wouldn't have any regrets in this life. "Haha, I saw you get captured, so I took a taxi and chased after you and called Boss." Kong Xiaobo scratched his head, embarrassed. If Boss didn't show up in time, I might have been locked up as well. "Boss, thank you." Fun called Lin Yi Boss, just like Kong Xiaobo. She was filled with gratitude towards Lin Yi. Lin Yi waved his hand casually. He had already acknowledged Kong Xiaobo as his follower, and Lin Yi wouldn't complain no matter how much he helped him. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was thinking about something else. In the basement, Fun wasn't alone. There were 2 other people sitting in the corner, avoiding eye contact. They didn't know who Kong Xiaobo and Lin Yi were, and they didn't dare ask. One of them was a 16 or 17-year-old boy, and judging from his clothes, he was probably a beggar. The other was a woman in her 30s, also a disabled person. She was dressed very simply, and she was missing 2 arms. If there was only Fun here, Lin Yi would have thought that it was a conspiracy against Fun or Kong Xiaobo. But seeing that there were other people here, and with Kong Xiaobo's words about cutting organs, Lin Yi was certain that this was a stronghold of the organ trafficking organization. Xiao Xiao was a little scared and excited as she carefully followed behind Lin Yi. As far as she was concerned, Lin Yi was a hero who destroyed a criminal organization. Xiao Xiao usually did things that bordered on the law, like fighting, racing, and so on, but in her heart she admired heroes as well. It was just that she couldn't be a hero, so she looked for excitement in other ways. Now that she saw Lin Yi destroy a criminal organization all by himself, she couldn't be more excited. Lin Yi, is this a criminal organization? Maybe. Lin Yi planned to call Ling Shan and have her take over. Lin Yi wasn't a hero. His only goal here was to save Finn, and the reason why he left one alive was because he wanted to know why these people kidnapped Finn. As for other things, Lin Yi didn't care. As for whether or not he could find the organization behind this, Lin Yi didn't care. At that moment, Kong Xiaobo saw Xiao Xiao following behind Lin Yi. He couldn't help but give Lin Yi a thumbs up. It's only been a few days, and he's already done with Xiao Xiao? Lin Yi saw through Kong Xiaobo's dirty thoughts and glared at him helplessly. My car's too slow, so I drove Xiao Xiao's car. Oh, Kong Xiaobo was a little disappointed. He thought that Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao were already together. Don't move, I'll make a call, Lin Yi said to Kong Xiaobo and Fun before leaving the basement. Lin Yi, on the other hand, called Ling Shan. Ling Shan looked at Lin Yi's call and really wanted to hang up. She was already annoyed enough, and Lin Yi was still bothering her with some small stuff. Hey, what else is there? I already talked to the traffic police. Didn't the cars leave already? Ling Shan roared furiously. She didn't want to pick up the call, but she knew that she couldn't offend Lin Yi too much. But she could at least complain a little, right? She continued, Don't you know that I'm very busy? I haven't slept well for days because of the case. Oh, I found a suspected organ trafficking organization's hideout. Since you're busy, I'm leaving, Lin Yi said and hung up. Wah. Ling Shan paused. Suspected organ trafficking organization's hideout? Lin Yi found it. Ling Shan stood up subconsciously. Wait a minute. But she realized that Lin Yi had hung up on her. Ling Shan gritted her teeth in anger, but her heart was thumping with excitement as well. If what Lin Yi said was true, then wouldn't she have all the clues that had been bothering her for a long time? The officers all looked at Ling Shan, confused. They looked at her with questioning eyes, but she didn't explain. I'll go back to my office for a bit. With that, Ling Shan ran back to her office, closed the door, and called Lin Yi back as fast as she could. Huh, I thought you weren't interested. Lin Yi smiled as he picked up the phone. Aya, don't be angry. I'm just excited. I'm not in a good mood. Good man. Tell Miss Braindead where's the hideout. Ling Shan's hair stood on end from her own whining voice, but there was nothing she could do. This Lin Yi could be persuaded, but not cowed. She had no choice but to swallow her pride and ask for help from him. Dunming Street, Deputy 7th. You better come yourself. Drive a big car. Lin Yi said. Chapter 473. The breakup feeling Shan couldn't help but frown at the scene in the yard. These people are dead. I ran them over, Lin Yi explained faintly. How could you just kill people like that? As a police, naturally, Ling Shan didn't like what Lin Yi was doing. They had guns. If I didn't run them over, why would I wait for them to shoot me? Lin Yi rolled his eyes. I told you to do it yourself, so you can deal with it. Lingshan nodded. Lin Yi had a point, and Lin Yi had at least left one of them alive. That made her happy. She quickly made a statement for Fun, the beggar, and the disabled woman before letting them into the police car. She'd be sending them back later. Fun, on the other hand, went with Lin Yi. The back seat of the Audi TT was very small, but Kong Xiaobo and Fun had to squeeze in the back. Lingshan was left to clean up the scene, and Lin Yi left. Actually, even if Lin Yi went to the police station to make a statement, it wouldn't be a big deal. It wasn't just self-defense, but Lin Yi didn't like trouble. It'd be a lot easier if Lingshan took care of it herself, and he'd be able to give the girl some credit. On the way back, Lin Yi slowed down the car since there wasn't anything urgent. Xiao Xiao was a little unhappy. Lin Yi, why are you driving so slow? If you think it's slow, you can drive. Lin Yi said, faintly. Then, you drive. Xiao Xiao was a little annoyed. She wanted to see Lin Yi drive again, but that wasn't possible anymore. Tang Yin went back to the classroom and thought about what happened this morning. She thought it was fake, but the more she thought about it, the more worried she got. Did Xiao Xiao really have something to do with Lin Yi? Thinking about Xiao Xiao suddenly transferring to Songshan Songshan and sitting next to Lin Yi, Tang Yin felt a little annoyed. If Xiao Xiao had nothing to do with Lin Yi, why would she bother Lin Yi every day? She clearly knew that Lin Yi's girlfriend was her, but she still dared to say those words to Lin Yi in front of her. Could it be that what she said in the morning was true? Otherwise, why would a girl sully her own reputation by saying that she had a relationship with Lin Yi and might be pregnant? Let Lin Yi take her to the hospital for a checkup? Tang Yin thought that even if she had that kind of relationship with Lin Yi, she couldn't just let everyone know, could she? Unless she was threatened by external factors and was in a hurry to announce her relationship with Lin Yi. Then she would throw caution to the wind. Was Xiao Xiao's situation the same way? If it weren't for her relationship with Lin Yi, she wouldn't have said these things, would she? Since she was shameless enough to say these things, did it mean that there was something going on between her and Lin Yi? Tang Yan's mind was a mess, filled with the scene from this morning. She didn't want to believe that Lin Yi would fall in love with someone else, but Xiao Xiao's words hinted that Lin Yi didn't fall in love with someone else. He was with Xiao Xiao first, and then with her. Otherwise, Tang Yin wouldn't believe that Xiao Xiao would fall in love with Lin Yi just a few days after transferring, and even have that kind of relationship with him. The only possibility was that Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao knew each other from before. Thinking back to the time when she asked Lin Yi about their relationship, and Lin Yi only said that Xiao Xiao had seen him drive before and wanted to learn from him, Tang Yan's frown deepened. Learning to drive. Just learning to drive. Why did she have to go through so much trouble to be in the same class as Lin Yi? Tang Yin took out her phone and looked at it. There were no missed calls, no messages. Why wasn't Lin Yi looking for her? Just like that, Tang Yin endured until the end of the first period and still didn't get a call from Lin Yi. Nor did she get a message from Lin Yi. She waited in the classroom for a long time, but Lin Yi still didn't come looking for her. When they separated in the morning, Tang Yin told Lin Yi that he would look for her after the first period. But even when the bell rang, Lin Yi wasn't there. Tang Yan's mind was a mess. Could it be that what happened this morning was real? Tang Yin was regretting it. If she had known this would happen, she would have ignored her pride and continued to see what Xiao Xiao had to say. However, at that time he couldn't let go of his pride, so he left first. In the second period, Tang Yin didn't even react to the teacher's question, and she didn't know how she got through it. After class, Tang Yin couldn't take it anymore. How could Lin Yi do this? Even if he had something to do with Xiao Xiao, shouldn't he at least give her an explanation? He didn't even say anything. What did he think she was? Tang Yin was a little pissed off, but she gathered her courage and went to Lin Yi's classroom. She pulled a classmate over and asked him to call Lin Yi out for her. Tang Yin wanted to ask Lin Yi face to face. What did he mean by this? The whole school knew about Lin Yi and Tang Yin, so no one thought it was strange for Tang Yin to come looking for Lin Yi. The classmate looked around the classroom and said, "Lin Yi isn't here." Oh, Tang Yin paused, not sure why, but she asked again, "Then is Xiao Xiao here?" The student looked around and shook his head at Tang Yin. "Foam, Xiao Xiao isn't here either. Oh, thank you." Tang Yin's eyes were sore, and she wanted to cry. Lin Yi wasn't here, and Xiao Xiao wasn't here either. How could these two not be here at the same time? Could it be that they really went out together? Tang Yin stumbled at the thought of this possibility, almost falling to the ground. She quickly grabbed the wall to steady herself. She didn't think that there was something going on between Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao, but now she was even more suspicious. She thought back to what Xiao Xiao said to her this morning. "Didn't Lin Yi give you a breakup fee? I've known Lin Yi for a long time, and I wanted to make you a mistress out of pity, sharing Lin Yi with you, but you didn't know what was good for you, so I had to let Lin Yi be with you for nothing." Tang Yun felt wronged. Wait, breakup fee? Tang Yun suddenly remembered that Lin Yi seemed to have given her mother something this morning. Could it be the breakup fee Xiao Xiao was talking about? Tang Yun called her mother's number and took a deep breath, pretending to be calm. "Mom, where are you?" Chapter 474. It was a misunderstanding. That was 500,000. Mrs. Tang had never seen so much money in her life. She'd been over the moon when Lin Yi gave her 200,000. Although 150,000 was to pay off Wang Lui's debt, it was still Lin Yi's money. It meant that Lin Yi cared about Tang Yin. Mrs. Tang was smiling happily at the bank card in her hand. She was in an indescribably good mood. Suddenly, her phone rang, startling her. She picked it up and saw that it was her daughter calling. When Tang Yin asked her where she was, Mrs. Tang didn't think much about it and said that she was at the bank. She regretted it after she said it. Lin Yi had been secretive when he gave her the money, not wanting Tang Yin to know. But now that she'd exposed it, she hoped that her daughter wouldn't suspect anything. "I wanted to see how much money we had left after your dad was hospitalized, so we could figure out how big of a retail space we could buy." Mrs. Tang explained. "Mom, how much did Lin Yi give you this morning?" Tang Yin's heart tightened. She'd suspected that Lin Yi had given her mother money, and now that her mother was in the bank, she was even more certain. So Tang Yin didn't even ask if Lin Yi had given her mother money. She only asked how much, to show that she already knew about it and that her mother didn't need to hide it anymore. Ah. Mrs. Tang paused. Her daughter already knew? She didn't think that her daughter was lying to her. She hesitated. 500,000. What? 500,000. Tang Yin's body felt like it was going to collapse. It was as if all the energy in her body had been sucked out by her mother's words. Her phone fell to the floor with a bang, the back cover and battery separating. Tang Yin didn't seem to notice it at all. Her body swayed, and she would have fainted if it weren't for the fact that she was holding on to the wall. Tears rolled down his cheeks. Sure enough, he had given his mother a lot of money. 500,000. That was 500,000. It was enough for his family to buy a retail house. Why would Lin Yi give his family 500,000 yuan for no reason? The last time his father had an operation, he only took out 200,000 yuan, including the money he gave to Xiao Wei. But this time he took out 500,000 yuan. What did this mean? Tang Yin's first thought was the breakup fee Xiao Xiao mentioned this morning. Only a breakup fee would Lin Yi give them so much money, right? As expected. Tang Yin leaned against the wall as tears rolled down her cheeks. Why? Why would Lin Yi bother him when he had Xiao Xiao? Or was it that he was too stupid and naive, thinking that he was different from those hedonistic young masters, but in reality he was no different from them? Thinking about Xiao Fen's experience, Lin Yi's actions didn't need any explanation. Lin Yi, I hate you. Tang Yun bit her lips, not knowing what to do or what to do. What's wrong, Yunyan? What are you doing? Who's bullying you? Xinwen came out of the washroom to see Tang Yun crying against the wall, her phone on the ground in pieces. Xinwen. Tang Yun forced a smile when she saw Xinwen. It's nothing. I'm just a little dizzy. Dizzy? Why are you crying if you're dizzy? Xinwen didn't believe her. Did someone bully you? Yunyan, tell me. I'll chop him up with a cleaver. Xinwen had been this fierce since she was young, and she was still the same now. It's nothing. It's really nothing. Tang Yin, naturally, wouldn't tell Xinwen about her sadness. Even if she was her best friend, she was abandoned by Lin Yi. How could she say that? Xinwen was the one who told her to stay away from Lin Yi, but she didn't listen. Now she was at a loss, wasn't she? Xinwen saw that Tang Yin didn't want to talk about it, so she picked up the phone parts and stuffed them into Tang Yun's hands. Thank you. Tang Yun wasn't in the mood to check if the phone was broken or not, so she stuffed it into her pocket. Yunyan, if you're wronged, you have to tell me. I'll help you. Xinwen said worriedly. Thank you, but I'm really fine. Tang Yun shook her head. Xinwen helped Tang Yun back to the classroom, and the bell rang. Xinwen couldn't ask any more, so she sighed and went back to her seat. On the way back to school, Lin Yi looked at the time on the dashboard and suddenly remembered that the first class had already ended, and Tang Yun still wanted to find him. Was she worried? Of course, Lin Yi didn't think too much about it, because from Tang Yun's expression this morning, although she was a little angry, it was far from suspicion. So Lin Yi wasn't worried. How could he know that the 500,000 he gave to Mrs. Tang was taken as a breakup fee by Tang Yin? If he knew it would be like this, he wouldn't have done it. He took out his phone and dialed Tang Yun's number, but the phone was turned off, which surprised Lin Yi. Could this girl be angry because I didn't look for her after class? Boss, are you calling sis-in-law? Kong Xiaobo saw that Lin Yi was on the phone, and he could guess who it was. I promised Tang Yin that I would find her after the first class, but I missed it because I saved you. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Ah, no way. Then wouldn't I be the greatest sinner? Kong Xiaobo was shocked and quickly said, Boss, do you need me to explain to her? No need, I'll explain. Lin Yi smiled. He didn't have the habit of letting others testify. From his perspective, it wasn't a big deal, so he didn't mind. Tang Yin was angry. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, was secretly delighted as she clenched her fists. This was great. She'd finally pissed Tang Yin off. It seemed like the move she used this morning wasn't bad. She'd have to use it more often in the future. Lin Yi called Tang Yun's phone and found that it was turned off. So he put the phone on the dashboard, and just as he put it down, the phone rang. Lin Yi thought it was Tang Yin calling back, but it was Fatty Lai. Hello? Fatty Lai? Lin Yi picked up the phone. Chapter 475. Let you know, oh? What good news? Lin Yi paused, guessing that there was some progress with the medicine company. Boss, I'm at Professor Guan's. Are you free? If you have time, come over and tell me in detail. It's about the auction, Fatty Lai said. All right, I'll come over now. Lin Yi looked at the time. He'd already skipped most of the morning's classes, so he didn't mind skipping a bit more. Then I'll wait for you here. Fatty Lai hung up excitedly. I still have something to do later. Xiao Xiao, can you send Kong Xiaobo and Fen back? Lin Yi asked as he looked at Xiao Xiao. Sure, go do what you need to do. Xiao Xiao was laughing inside, thinking that it was better if he didn't go back to school now. Tang Yin would get angrier and angrier, and she'd break up with him if she couldn't see him. Lin Yi didn't think that much about it. He didn't know what Xiao Xiao was thinking. He drove to the entrance of Songshan Medical University and got out of the car. Cars weren't allowed in the residential area of the school, and unfamiliar cars had to be registered. It was Xiao Xiao's first time here, so Lin Yi didn't bother and walked over. Xiao Xiao sat in the driver's seat, pleased with herself as she drove Kong Xiaobo and Fun to the slums. She wanted to send Fun back first, and on the way, she'd ask Kong Xiaobo about Lin. Xiaobo, can you tell me more about Linny? Xiao Xiao asked as she drove. Boss. Xiaobo didn't feel like there was anything wrong with that, so he started rambling on and on. Ling Shan waited for Linny to leave before calling the team over, quickly surrounding Dunming Street 7. Lu Wanli jumped out of the police car and looked at the 3 dead and 1 injured on the ground, as well as the 2 rescued victims. He gave Ling Shan a thumbs up. Captain Song, you're way too amazing. You found the organ trafficking organization's hideout in one go. Ling Shan's face reddened at Lu Wanli's compliment. She coughed a couple of times. According to my initial observations, this isn't the main base of the criminal organization. It's just a transfer point where the beggars, homeless people, and handicapped people are sent here and await the next step of the criminal operation. That's still amazing. Our team searched the whole city without sleep, but we didn't find any clues. Captain Song is really something. Another senior captain in the criminal police team also said with admiration. That's right, Captain Song. When Ling Shan was the captain of the city's criminal police team, these captains weren't very happy with her. But after Ling Shan solved several big cases in a row, along with her first place in the police tournament, they were all very impressed with her. Ling Shan, on the other hand, was blushing a little, thinking about how she'd gotten all this information just by acting cute to Lin Yi. Ling Shan felt really ashamed. She felt like she'd lied to someone else about how she'd gotten all the credit. Ling Shan didn't know how to explain herself in front of everyone's praises, so she turned to Lu Wanli. Lu Wanli, send the 2 victims back first, the rest of you. Send the suspect to the hospital. Ling Shan sighed as she looked at the busy workers. Was her life a failure? Now that she wasn't relying on Huaijuan anymore. She had to rely on Lin, but when she thought about it, this was her own ability. Other people didn't know who Lin Yi was, and she was the only one who could get Lin Yi's help. No matter what the process was, the result would be the same, and that was enough. As for her acting cute to Lin Yi and calling him Miss Braindead, she could just treat it as a joke between friends. She didn't have to worry too much about it. Many of her colleagues had nicknames too, and they weren't all that nice, like Fierce Bull or Iron Bullet. Her nickname was only for Lin. Ling Shan knew that she was just comforting herself, but it still made her feel a lot better. Lin Yi arrived at Xiumin's house. Fatty Lai was sitting on the sofa, talking to Xiumin excitedly, but Xiumin didn't interrupt, only nodding with a smile. Xiumin knew that Fatty Lai wasn't good at business, so he only listened to Fatty Lai's point of view and didn't interfere. After all, different professions were worlds apart. He was famous in the medical world, but that didn't mean he was good at other things. It'd be disgusting if he were to criticize others. Boss, you're here. Fatty Lai jumped up from the sofa excitedly when he saw Lin Yi. You're quite agile. Lin Yi was a little puzzled. Fatty Lai seemed to have a spring on his, but jumping up with a whoosh. It wouldn't be a big deal if he didn't have such a fat body, but it was rare to see someone so agile with such a fat body. I've been working out, Fatty Lai said. But my genes aren't good. I get fat just from drinking water. I've been trying to lose weight, but I just can't. Oh, it's your genes. I'll help you adjust them when I'm free, Lin Yi said faintly. Okay. Fatty Lai jumped up in shock, looking at Lin Yi in disbelief. Boss, you're saying that genes can be adjusted? Yes, Lin Yi nodded. But I like you because you're chubby. Then I won't adjust them. This is good. Fatty Lai changed his mind after hearing that Lin Yi liked him. Lose a little more weight, Lin Yi smiled. When my company is on the right track, I'll perform acupuncture on you when I'm free. Actually, performing acupuncture on Fatty Lai was a piece of cake, and he could do it any time. He could even perform acupuncture while talking. The problem was that Lin Yi didn't really trust Fatty Lai yet. He didn't treat him as a true confidant, so he wasn't in a rush to give him any benefits. He'd observe him for a while before deciding. Okay, boss, you're too good to me. Sob. Fatty Lai was so emotional that he started crying again. Lin Yi was speechless. It seemed like he couldn't change his crybaby habit. He couldn't cure it. It was a personality problem. Hey, boss, don't be angry. I was so emotional that I started crying. Okay, I won't cry anymore. Fatty Lai suddenly remembered that Lin Yi didn't want him to cry, so he quickly stopped. Chapter 476. Matters for the auction. Fatty Lai returned to normal after Lin Yi sat on the sofa, smiling as he took out a brochure from his briefcase and handed it to Lin Yi. Boss, take a look at this. Lin Yi took the brochure from Fatty Lai and flipped through it. Auction. Lin Yi took a look and realized that it was a brochure introducing the auction, and the venue was Yanjing City. That's right. Fatty Lai nodded. But this isn't a normal auction. It's a super auction that all the noble houses attend, and it's held once a year. Oh, Lin Yi paused. He didn't expect this auction to be so influential, and Fatty Lai must have some power if he could get his hands on a brochure for this auction. Mr. Lai is right. I know about this auction. They send me an invitation every year, but I've never attended it before. Xu Amin smiled self-deprecatingly. With Xu Amin's current status, he was the target of all the noble houses. A miracle doctor was far more useful than a profitable business partner. What was the use of money if he was dead? Therefore, in order to show how much the aristocratic families valued Guan Xuemin, they would send him more than one invitation every year. However, Guan Xuemin had always been an honest person, so he wouldn't charge exorbitant medical fees. Naturally, he wouldn't attend any auction. This time, Professor Guan must go, Fatty Lai said with a smile. If I'd known that you had so many invitations, and that you could bring people along, I wouldn't have wasted so much effort to get you an invitation. Huh? Lin Yi smiled. Fatty Lai had wanted to show off when he got the invitation, but he didn't expect Xu Amin to have several of them. He wasn't in the mood to show off right away. In this auction, only some rare treasures are being auctioned. Only the financial resources of the various aristocratic families can afford to buy these things. Fatty Lai said, Of course, other than the traditional aristocratic families participating, there will also be some new entrepreneurs invited. These people also have a lot of potential. You're saying that we'll be auctioning the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing at this auction? Lin Yi had a rough idea of Fatty Lai's intentions. That's right. Everyone who attends this auction is rich. As long as they're willing to chase after us, it'll be hard for our products not to be sold out. Fatty Lai said. All right, you can decide. Lin Yi nodded. Since Fatty Lai was in charge, if he said it could be done, then it would be done. It's great following you, boss. Fatty Lai was so happy that Lin Yi wasn't interfering at all. He almost cried again, but he managed to hold it in. Boss, I've booked 3 tickets for tonight. We'll leave for Yanjing in a bit. So urgent. Lin Yi paused. Isn't the auction 3 days from now? That's for the auction. It's fine if we're just going to buy stuff, even if it's a day or 2 later, Fatty Lai said. But we're going to sell stuff at the auction as well, so we'll have to leave early. We need to submit it in advance. I see. Lin Yi nodded, following Fatty Lai's arrangements. He told Pingzhan and the miss that he had something to do and would be away for a few days. Pingzhan naturally didn't say anything, but Meng Yao, on the other hand, replied nonchalantly. Mind your identity. Don't flirt with other girls. Huh? Lin Yi shook his head at Meng Yao's message and called Tang Yin. Unfortunately, Tang Yan's phone was still turned off. Lin Yi could only send a message to Tang Yan, explaining that there was nothing going on between him and Xiao Xiao, and that he had to go to the auction in Yanjing and bring her a gift. At the same time, in Dr. Kang's house, Dr. Kong naturally received an invitation to the auction as well. Although House Kong wasn't even considered a low-level noble house, they were still the head of the company. Naturally, they would be part of the auction. Plus, House Kong would bring out some stuff for the auction every year. Why is the auction early this year? Dr. Kong looked at the invitation in his hand, curiously. Yeah, father, it's always August every year. I wonder what's up with House Yu this year. Kong Guifeng nodded, confused. Silence. Dr. Kong glared at Kong Guifeng. House Yu's business is not something you can talk about. There's no outsiders here. Kong Guifeng knew that he said something wrong, but he still tried to defend himself. No outsiders? It'll be bad if there are outsiders. You're putting us in a position where we can't recover from. Dr. Kong humphed coldly. Don't even think about this in the future. We're at a crucial stage of becoming a noble house. Don't cause trouble. It's just the two of us now, but you're used to saying it. What if you say it out loud when you go out? Wouldn't that ruin everything? Yes, father. I was wrong. Kong Guifeng quickly apologized. No matter why House Yu brought forward the auction this time, we, House Kong, still have to participate. Dr. Kong humphed. This time, I'll go with you and Xiaolong to Yanjing. We'll go to Xiao family first to propose marriage, and then we'll go to the auction. Yes, father. Kong Guifeng nodded. The items for the auction this year, are we going to prepare the same as last year's? Yes, but we have to prepare an extra portion as a betrothal gift to Xiao family. Dr. Kong said, Prepare it as soon as possible. We'll be leaving tomorrow. Don't worry, father. Kong Guifeng nodded. Dr. Kong trusted Kong Guifeng. This eldest son was much more reliable than his youngest son. He hoped that this trip to Yanjing would not only be able to get the support of Xiao family, but also earn a fortune from the auction. Every year, House Kong would prepare a few portions of golden creation at the auction. It was highly sought after by all the noble houses, and usually sold for a sky-high price. This was also one of the sources of income for House Kong every year. However, the so-called golden creation medicine was just a normal golden creation medicine that wasn't diluted. At most, some of the ingredients were older and more effective. Chapter 477. Chapter 477. Return it to him. Xiao Xiao happily went back to school, looking for a chance to use Lin Yi's incident to attack Tang Yan. Lin Yi wasn't in school, and Tang Yan wouldn't even have a chance to confront him. La la la. Xiao Xiao started laughing happily. She walked quickly to Class 9's door and was about to call Tang Yan out to talk to her when her phone rang in her pocket. Only Xiao Xiao dared to set her phone to ringtone in school. The others had to be careful, even if it was vibrating. Jifeng had just finished checking the 12th grader's discipline, and he was walking past the hallway when he heard the ringtone. He was about to explode when he saw that it was Xiao Xiao. He lowered his head helplessly and pretended not to see it, walking away quickly. Sometimes, Jifeng felt that being the dean was a bit of a burden. There were two special students in the school that he couldn't control. One was Lin Yi, and the other was Xiao Xiao. This was 2F** cat up. He could only pretend he didn't see anything. But Xiao Xiao just had to raise her head and greet Jifeng, her voice sweet. Mr. Wang, Lin Yi has something to do these next couple of days. He can't come to school. He asked me to help him get a leave. She was standing in front of Tang Yan's classroom, not far from Tang Yan's window. The window wasn't closed, and Tang Yan heard it loud and clear. She froze. She was lying on her desk, not paying attention to what was going on outside. But she raised her head upon hearing Xiao Xiao's voice. Her heart froze when she heard that Xiao Xiao was applying for leave for Lin Yi. So, they really had something going on. Okay. Wang Jifeng answered gloomily and quickly turned around to leave. Xiao Xiao's face turned cold as well. She looked at the caller ID and quickly ran to the bathroom to pick it up. What's up? Xiao Xiao, you should go to the hospital today. A middle-aged man's voice came from the other side. Hospital? What hospital? I'm going to die anyway. I'm going to waste my life there? Xiao Xiao was getting agitated all of a sudden, as if she was really against it. Didn't the doctor say that there's a chance of recovery? The middle-aged man said after a pause, Listen to their bullshit. You said Mom wouldn't die, but look what happened. Xiao Xiao was even more agitated. My mom, my auntie, it's the same. You don't have time to accompany me, so please don't waste my life, okay? I'm sorry. The middle-aged man sighed. But Dad has work to do. But this time, Dad's colleague helped me contact an expert. I will send a car to pick you up later. No, I'm not going. I haven't played enough. How much time do I have left? You put me in the hospital for 2 months. How many more months do I have to waste? Xiao Xiao yelled at the other side of the phone before smashing the phone on the ground, panting with rage. The middle-aged man helplessly put down the phone in his hand. Although he also wanted to accompany his daughter often, the nature of his work gave him little time to rest 365 days a year. Xiao Xiao's chest was heaving up and down as she put her hands on the windowsill, looking at the students playing on the field. She held back the tears that were about to fall. I can't cry, I'm Xiao Xiao. Go, Xiao Xiao. After calming down for a while, she heard a sound from the bathroom door. She quickly collected her emotions and picked up the phone before walking out of the bathroom calmly. Tang Yin was feeling really bad, and she didn't want to embarrass herself in the classroom. She stumbled to the bathroom to wash her face and calm down, only to see Xiao Xiao walking out. She jumped and yelped, looking at Xiao Xiao with wariness and hostility. Tang Yin didn't know what to do at a time like this, nor did she have any experience like this. At the end of the day, she was just an 18-year-old girl, a 12th grader. She'd never met a love rival before, and her mind was a blank. Xiao Xiao was much calmer than Tang Yin. She looked at Tang Yin and smiled. I'm going on a honeymoon with Lin Yi. He gave you the breakup fee, right? Xiao Xiao knew that her father would still send someone to pick her up, and Lin Yi had something to do. She disappeared as well, so she could use this chance to make Tang Yin misunderstand. He did, but I don't want it. I'll give it back to him. Tang Yin bit her lip and raised her head to look at Xiao Xiao stubbornly. Tell him that I hate him. All right, I'll tell him. Xiao Xiao blinked. Breakup fee? Why did she really give a breakup fee? What was going on? But as weird as it was, Xiao Xiao put on a look of understanding and smiled at Tang Yin. But I suggest you keep the money. I don't want it. Tang Yin looked at Xiao Xiao's back, tears welling up in her eyes. She didn't know if it was because she felt wronged or because she was mourning this first love that died before it even started. In the afternoon, a black Audi A6L with a special plate stopped in front of Songshan's first school. Captain Feng, we've arrived, the driver reminded the middle-aged man who was resting behind the car. Oh, we're here already. That fast? The man opened his eyes, and one could clearly see the red veins in his eyes. It was obvious that he was exhausted. Turn off the air conditioner and open the window. Yes. The driver turned off the air conditioner and opened the window. The middle-aged man called Captain Feng, took out his mobile phone and dialed a number. When the call was connected, he said, Xiao Xiao, I'm at the gate of your school. How many days is it this time? Xiao Xiao knew that she couldn't hide from this. Whether she rejected or not, her father would come to get her. The phone was quite sturdy, and it didn't break. Xiao Xiao's phone was a custom-made device her father gave her. It had a GPS system and was very sturdy. 2 or 3 days. It'll be quick after a checkup, and I can bring the medicine back, Captain Feng said after some hesitation. All right, wait for me, Xiao Xiao said happily. Ah. Captain Feng was confused. When had his daughter ever been this happy? Every time she went to the hospital, she'd do everything she could to convince her, and even grab her, but this time... Chapter 478. Chapter 478, Marriage Proposal, Part 1. No, I'll be waiting for you then. Captain Feng was a little puzzled. What was wrong with his daughter today? Why was she acting so weird? But since Xiao Xiao wanted to come, there was no need for him to say anything else. The reason why Xiao Xiao agreed so quickly was because Linny wasn't at school, and she had to leave as well. One could only imagine how depressed Tang Yin would be. Going against her? That would be a tragic ending. Xiao Xiao waved her fist and went downstairs. She saw the Audi A6L parked outside the school gates and didn't say anything as she got in the car. Xiao Xiao, the doctor this time is your dad's colleague, an expert in genetic diseases. Captain Feng waited for Xiao Xiao to get in the car before looking at her kindly. His name was Feng Tianlong, a special agent. He couldn't be by Xiao Xiao's side every day due to his work. It was a little regretful, but he didn't regret it. Since he'd chosen this path, he had to walk it down. Oh, another specialist, Xiao Xiao replied faintly. Xiao Xiao nodded faintly. She'd seen too many experts since she was young, but they'd always come back disappointed. Xiao Xiao was pretty much numb to it already. Rather than wasting time with doctors, she'd rather spend her youth and life. At least she wouldn't regret it even if she died. Tianlong shook his head. His daughter's attitude was within his expectations, and he didn't say anything else. In fact, he didn't have much confidence, but as long as there was a sliver of hope, he wanted his daughter to live. To live healthily. The plane slowly landed in Yanjing, and Lin Yi, Fatty Lai, and Fatty Lai got off the plane and checked into the hotel Fatty Lai had booked. Boss, we're auctioning 3 pills of life extension and toxin cleansing this time. Isn't that a little too little? Fatty Lai asked carefully. Rare things are precious. Plus, it's not all for the money. It's mainly for the fame. Lin Yi smiled. I see. Fatty Lai knew that Lin Yi was speaking the truth, but he had his own selfish motives. If there were only 3 pills of life extension and toxin cleansing, then his chances of getting one would be a little low. If there were more, then wouldn't he still have a chance? Of course, he couldn't say this to Lin Yi, so Fatty Lai could only swallow it. With Fatty Lai's help, the procedures for the auction were easily taken care of. All they had to do was provide the auction items, the base price, and so on, and the auction would be completed. Even the organizer of the auction did not force the seller to go through the appraisal. The appraisal was voluntary, and one could apply for it or not. Obviously, the organizer also knew that some rare treasures couldn't be identified on the spot, and those who could participate in this auction were all celebrities. No one was willing to come up with something fake to tarnish their reputation. It was true that there were cases of shoddy goods being passed off as quality goods, but this kind of transaction would also damage the seller's reputation. As the organizer, House Yu was not a force to be trifled with. Rumor had it that a few years ago there was a seller who passed off shoddy goods as quality goods, and House Yu ended up bankrupting him. But for Fatty Lai's unknown pill that had never been on the market before, no matter how miraculous his description was, the organizer still set a relatively low price for him. 1 million. Fatty Lai didn't want to explain further. 1 million it was. The pill wouldn't be sold for a cheap price anyway. Forget 1 million. Even if it was 100 million, he'd take it without hesitation. Yanjing City, Xiao family. Dr. Kong brought Kong Guifeng and Kong Xiaolong to visit the 2 brothers of the Xiao family, Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben. The old man of the Xiao family had passed away, and Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben had become poor kids. Although the Xiao family was still a low-class noble house, the 2 brothers were pleasantly surprised by Dr. Kang's personal visit. Dr. Kong, you could have just asked Brother Guifeng to come. Why did you come yourself? You're giving our Xiao family too much face. Xiao Ji was very excited about Dr. Kang's visit. As long as the marriage with House Kong was successful, the Xiao family would be able to get a loan from the bank, as well as the support of their business partners. By then, the situation of the Xiao family would be reversed. Isn't it just in time for House Yu's auction? So I came along. Dr. Kong smiled. House Yu's auction. Xiao Ji paused. Isn't the auction held in August every year? It's earlier this year, don't you know? Dr. Kong was taken aback as well. The Xiao family may be a low-class noble house, but they should still be invited to the auction. Why did they look like they didn't know? He knew even when he was out of town, but the local Xiao family didn't know? I know. Ha! Big brother, the invitation is with me. I was dealing with the funeral of the old man, so I put this matter aside. I forgot to mention it. Xiao Ben was a smart man. After a trace of haze flashed across his face, he said with a smile, Xiao Ben was just lying. In fact, the Xiao family didn't receive the invitation, and that was what pissed him off the most. With the old man's death, they didn't send an invitation. What was House Yu thinking? I see, so it's with you. I thought they forgot about us. Xiao Ji smiled and nodded. It's brought forward. I wonder if Elder Kong has anything that you're determined to get in this auction? Well, the auction list is only released on the day of the auction. I don't know about that. Dr. Kong smiled and shook his head. Xiao Ben felt sad again. Once upon a time, when the Xiao family was at its peak, they could get most of the auction listings a few days before the auction. How awesome were he and his brother back then. When the time comes, I'll definitely get it. But now they didn't even bother to send out an invitation. The Xiao family may be poor, but they were still a low-class, noble house. How could they look down on them like this? Of course. Xiao Ben saw that his brother was about to brag about his past achievements and quickly stopped him. We probably won't be able to bid for anything when the time comes. We might not even be able to attend the auction. There's too much to do at home. Xiao Ben made up an excuse for not being able to attend. Right, Guifeng, where's our gift? Dr. Kong looked at Kong Guifeng. Here. Kong Guifeng waved at Xiaolong, who was at the door. Xiaolong quickly walked over. Uncle Xiao, second Uncle Xiao, this is a box of golden creation ointment. It's just a small gift. Xiaolong said respectfully as he presented the box politely. Chapter 479. Chapter 479, Marriage Proposal, Part 2. They wouldn't have cared about 10 million if it were any other time. But right now, they couldn't be more excited. This young man is Kong Xiaolong, right? What a handsome man. Xiao Ji said to Xiaolong as he accepted the box with a smile on his face. Uncle Xiao, I'm Kong Xiaolong. Xiaolong said politely. Yes, he's a good match for our Xinyan. Xiao Ben nodded as well, annoyed at his niece for not knowing her place. House Kong was such a powerful family after all. Why wasn't she interested? They'd tried to persuade her for a few days, but she still wouldn't agree. Xiao Ben and Xiao Ji were helpless. At the end of the day, Xinyan was just a distant relative, not a direct descendant of the Xiao family. They couldn't ask for anything. House arrest wasn't the way to go. They had to let her go. Xinyan's parents, on the other hand, were a bit against the marriage at first, but Wang Shubin fell silent after hearing that the man was Dr. Kang's grandson. Qin Lin, on the other hand, didn't have much of an opinion. She'd been listening to Wang Shubin all these years, and now that Wang Shubin had agreed, she had no objections. The most important thing was that Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben had said that if they agreed to the marriage, they'd give up on the shares mentioned in the old man's will. But if they didn't agree, they'd take back a portion of the shares from Wang Shubin's company, and they'd threaten to ally with House Kong against his medicine company. Now, Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben were glad that Xinyan was the only one who was against the marriage. There wouldn't be any problems as long as they got through to her. Where's that Wang Xinyan? Why don't you call her out so I can see my future granddaughter-in-law? Dr. Kong asked, smiling as he sat on the sofa. As a grandfather, he was quite satisfied with this granddaughter-in-law, despite the fact that this was a political marriage. I'll go get her now. Xiao Ben gave his brother a look before walking into the living room. I say, sis, brother-in-law, did you guys really get through to my niece's thoughts? Dr. Kong himself came to our house to propose marriage. This isn't something just anyone can do. Xiao Ben said as he looked at Wang Shubin and Qin Lin, who were standing in front of Xinyan's room. Little Yan doesn't agree. I think it's fine. Although Xiao Qinlin didn't have any opinions, she still loved her daughter very much. Seeing that her daughter was unhappy, she naturally didn't want to get married. Or you're a woman with long hair but short knowledge. Xiao Ben was stunned and said with some annoyance, What kind of family does Dr. Kong come from? His eldest grandson Kong Xiaolong is the future heir of House Kong. How could Xinyan lose out by marrying him? Qinlin, I've heard of this Xiaolong before. He's an excellent student, and he doesn't have a single bad habit. I've heard that he hasn't even had a girlfriend. I think he won't mistreat Xinyan, Wang Shubin said. Although he was afraid that something would happen to the company, he didn't want his daughter to be unhappy in the future, so he secretly got someone to investigate Xiaolong. The results of the investigation surprised him. Was this really a rich young master? He had been studying since he was young, and now that he had a PhD, he still had to continue his studies. Most importantly, he didn't have the habit of fooling around with women like other rich young masters. He didn't have a girlfriend since he was young. This was a world of difference between him and his cousin, Kong Mingming. So after getting the report, Wang Shubin didn't reject the marriage anymore. Where else could he find such a good son-in-law? Not only was he good at his studies, he had a good character, and most importantly, he had a good family background. With Miracle Dr. Kang's support, there was no need to worry about the development of his medicine chain company. Is that so? But little Yen doesn't like him. They've never met before. How could they have a relationship? Xiao Qinlin knew that Zhao Long was a good person, so she didn't reject him. But thinking about how her daughter didn't have feelings for him, she still hesitated. Can't feelings be cultivated? Plus, this is just an engagement. If things really don't work out, we can call it off, Xiao Ben said. Right now, we're just using this marriage as an excuse to get some benefits for both of us. Let the two of them get to know each other first, and maybe they'll develop feelings for each other. I see. Xiao Qinlin thought about it. Her second brother's words made sense, but an engagement wasn't a marriage. Let the two of them get to know each other first, and if it worked out, they could stay together. If it didn't work out, they could call it off. Yeah, Dr. Kang's family is waiting outside. Hurry up and get Xinyan out. Xiao Ben was afraid that Dr. Kong would panic. All right then. Xiao Qinlin walked into the room and pushed out a dumbfounded Wang Xinyan after a while. Xinyan didn't understand. Why did her parents get convinced by her uncle and second uncle, asking her to get engaged to someone she didn't know? Her father gave her a lot of reasons, saying how great Xiaolong was, but Xinyan didn't like him. She couldn't fall in love with someone she didn't know. Dad, is your company really that important? Xinyan raised her head and looked at her father, hoping that he would change his mind. Wang Shubin was a little embarrassed, but the company was his life's work. He didn't want it to be ruined. I understand, Xinyan sighed. Xinyan sighed. I can go out with you guys, but I didn't agree to the engagement. All right, let's talk outside. Don't say anything when we get out. Maybe you'll like him just by looking at him, Xiao Ben said. Zhao Long is a rare young man. Xinyan didn't say anything. There was no point in saying anything else. How could Xinyan fight back when her parents had already agreed to it? How could she change? But she didn't plan on marrying a stranger. It was just an engagement, not a marriage. She'd just have to find a way to escape when the time came. Xin Yan would never accept a marriage arranged by her family. What year was this? There were still arranged marriages. Xin Yan was brought to the Xiao family's living room by Xiao Ben. Zhai Long was immediately attracted by Xin Yan's elegant figure. He didn't have a girlfriend, but that was just to show off in front of his grandpa. In fact, he'd been longing for a woman for a long time. Now that Xin Yan was officially his fiancée, Zhao Long didn't need to hide anything anymore. His family wouldn't say anything about how he treated Xin Yan. Chapter 480. Chapter 480. Cousin visits again. Zhao Long paused when he saw the flash of disgust in Xin Yan's eyes. He understood what was going on. From the looks of it, Wang Xinyan was a girl with high standards. She wasn't like those materialistic girls who'd get excited at the sight of a rich young master like him, wanting nothing more than to throw themselves at him. But the more Xinyan acted like this, the more Zhao Long was tempted. He wouldn't say anything if he were to marry a girl who was greedy for money, but he wouldn't be happy about it. Xinyan's reaction was just what he wanted, and the desire in Zhao Long's eyes disappeared in a flash, returning to his previous clarity. He was a schemer, and the fact that he'd been studying so hard for so many years showed how strong his willpower was. "Hello, Xinyan, I'm Zhao Long. I hope we can get along well." Zhao Long reached out his hand and greeted Xinyan warmly. If Zhao Long had been like this from the start, Xinyan wouldn't have hated him as much as she did now. After all, he was a sacrifice for the family's benefit. Xinyan wouldn't hate him even if she didn't like him. But the desire in Zhao Long's eyes showed that his heart wasn't pure, and it made Xinyan feel disgusted. She looked at Zhao Long's hand and said faintly, "I'm sorry, I was locked up by my family and I haven't washed my hands for a few days." "Ah." Zhao Long paused, and his face darkened. But it was only for a second, and he returned to normal. He was angry that Xinyan didn't give him any face at all, saying that she was forced to do it in front of everyone. How could Zhao Long take that? But Zhao Long couldn't afford to fall out with Xinyan right now. First of all, Xinyan was a woman he liked, and there was no harm in pursuing a woman like that. Second of all, he couldn't fall out with the Xiao family for the sake of the family's benefit. It seems that Xinyan doesn't want to marry into House Kong, does she? Dr. Kong was a little angry at Xinyan's words. Zhao Long couldn't say it, but he could. Although the Kong family was not an aristocratic family, yet the marriage was mutually beneficial, and the Xiao family also understood it very well. Moreover, the old master of the Xiao family had passed away, and there were only 2 juniors left. Dr. Kong was qualified to take advantage of his seniority. Xiao Ji was a little irritated as well. He didn't expect Xinyan to be so disrespectful in a situation like this. He was about to scold her a little, but Xiao Ben shot him a look and he shut his mouth. In the Xiao family, although Xiao Ji was the eldest, Xiao Ben was very intelligent. Xiao Ji now understood that the only way to protect the family was if the 2 of them worked together. So he gave up on being the eldest and listened to Xiao Ben. "Elder Kong, she's a girl. How can she agree to it so easily?" Xiao Ben smiled. "It's the young people's business, of course. We're just acting as a middleman, and the key lies with them. Let's get to know each other first, and only then can we plan our next step." Xiao Ben's words were smooth. It was different from what he had originally intended, but Dr. Kong could still accept it. Xinyan was clearly against it, and the Xiao family must have done a lot of work for her. If Dr. Kong were to insist on something, it would only make things worse, and that wasn't what Dr. Kong wanted to see. The only thing he could do was to let the 2 get to know each other, as Xiao Ben suggested. Now that the 2 know each other, it's better to get to know each other more. I heard that Xinyan's studying in Songshan. Let Zhao Long go play with her on the weekends when he's free. Dr. Kong nodded. "Xinyan, don't say no when I go find you," Zhao Long said with a smile. "I'm in 12th grade, and I'm very busy. I don't have time," Xinyan said faintly. Xinyan had the intention to say no, but her reason was flawless. Xiaolong wasn't happy about it, but he could only say, "There should be time for a meal, right? I'll just treat you to a meal and get to know each other." "That depends on the time." Xinyan frowned, but there was nothing she could do since Xiaolong had already said so. She felt a little depressed when she saw her father's earnest gaze. No matter what, she had to deal with it first. She was still young, and if she dragged it out, something might happen. Xinyan felt a little more at ease at the thought. Dr. Kang's expression softened a little when Xinyan stopped objecting. "Guifeng has booked a table at the hotel. Let's go together." Tang Yin didn't know how her day passed. She stumbled home at night to see her mother and father discussing buying a storefront with a smile on her face. "In your back?" Mrs. Tang looked at Tang Yin happily, not noticing her daughter's strange mood. "Your dad and I are looking into it. We want to get a bigger store, preferably one with 2 floors. Our house is big enough, and it won't cost much. 500,000 should be enough." "Oh," Tang Yin replied faintly, unable to say the words that were at the tip of her tongue. She wanted to take back the 500,000 from her mother, but how could she do that now? Tang Yin went back to her room, depressed, and closed the door. She laid on her bed and started crying. After crying for a while, she fell asleep. Tang Yin would go back to her room to read every day after school. So Mrs. Tang didn't find it strange at all. She didn't know how long it had been, but Tang Yin was woken up by a commotion. She got up in a daze, wanting to wash her face before coming back to her room to read. She opened the door to see her brother, Wang Luwei, and his girlfriend, Dan, sitting on the sofa with a hesitant look on their faces. "Yin, you're awake? I didn't dare wake you up because you were asleep," Mrs. Tang said happily. "You're tired from school every day, so I didn't want to disturb you. Now that you're awake, I need your help with Wei's matter." Tang Yin paused. "What's wrong with Wei?" "Sis, you have to help me." Wei looked at Tang Yin dejectedly, begging. "You have to save Dan." "What now? What did you do this time?" Tang Yin was already in a bad mood, and hearing that Wei was in trouble made her even more unhappy. Wei could see that, and so could Mrs. Tang. She glared at Tang Yin. "What? You're not going to care about your brother now that you're rich?" Wei could see that, and so could Mrs. Tang. She glared at Tang Yin. "What? You're not going to care about your brother now that you're rich?" Chapter 481. How am I supposed to return it? "Sister, you found a powerful brother-in-law. You must save me this time." Xiao Wei said carefully, "It's the same boss we talked about last time. He still won't let me and Xiaoding go." "The boss from last time? Didn't you give them the 150,000 already?" Tang Yin paused and looked at her brother in confusion. 150,000 yuan was given to him, but he said that 150,000 yuan was the situation 10 years ago. Now that the price of goods has increased so many times, the 150,000 yuan will also have to pay interest. Speaking up to this point, Xiao Wei seemed very angry. He said that either you pay him back 500,000 yuan with interest, or you want Xiao Dan to continue working in the company, or you give him money. 500,000? Tang Yan's eyes widened. How can they be so greedy? Turning 15 into 50 all of a sudden? Does he have a contract? Why don't we go to court to sue him? Where's the contract? Little Wei smiled bitterly. If there was a contract, it wouldn't be like this. The only contract was the one we signed. Xiao Dan had to work for him. If Xiao Dan broke the contract, she would have to compensate him for all his losses. He didn't say how much the losses were, so he could talk nonsense. Besides, we can't afford to go to court. Uncle Tang's matter hasn't been resolved yet, right? Tang Yin sighed. Wei was right. Her family was a weak group. How could they fight against those rich bosses? At that time, not to mention whether or not they could win the lawsuit, Even if they did win, they would still be the ones who would suffer losses if they backstabbed Xiao Wei. But tell me, what can I do? Tang Yin lowered her head. She understood what Wei was implying. He wanted her to ask Lin Yi for money. But how was she supposed to ask Lin Yi for money now? Yuner, although I happen to have the 500,000 Lin Yi gave me, isn't that the money we used to buy a retail store? If we give it away, we won't be able to buy a store. Mrs. Tang interrupted. Look, can't you talk to Lin Yi and ask him for another 500,000? What do you want? Do you think he's a money tree? Tang Yin panicked and stood up abruptly. What money tree? He's rich, and this amount of money is nothing to him. Mrs. Tang looked at her daughter and said with disappointment, Now that you have the capital to ask for money, you must ask for more. If you ask for more, he'll definitely agree. Mrs. Tang said, Yes, sister, I beg you. Only brother-in-law can help you with this matter. If you don't go, what about Xiaodan? You can't just watch as she walks into a tiger's den. Xiao Wei also hurriedly advised. You don't understand at all. You don't even know what happened between me and Lin Yi. Why do you always force me to ask for money? Why do you always force me? Tang Yin was so angry that she was on the verge of tears. She screamed at the top of her lungs, I already owe him so much money. How am I supposed to pay him back? How am I supposed to pay him back? I was the one who asked him for money, not you. What do you want me to do in the future? Mrs. Tang helplessly looked at her crazy daughter. Yun-er, do you still not understand? Lin Yi likes you. Your beauty is his capital. If you don't make good use of it, you'll regret it when he breaks up with you. Break up? That's right. We've already broken up. Tang Yin didn't want to talk about her scandal, but she was being forced into a corner. He doesn't want me anymore. Are you happy now? The money from this morning was his breakup fee. Ah. Mrs. Tang froze. Mr. Tang, Wei, and Dan froze as well. Yin, W, what did you say? Lin Yi broke up with you? You're joking, right? Joking? What kind of joke is this? Do I look like I'm joking? Tang Yin said as she recalled today's sad events and the grievances she'd suffered. Her eyes reddened, and tears started to flow down her cheeks. Mrs. Tang didn't know what to do. She was a snobbish person, but she was still on Tang Yin's side. She quickly picked up her daughter. Good girl, don't cry, Yin. It's fine if they broke up. I've said it before, he's a good-for-nothing, a hedonistic young master. Tang Yin found it funny at her mother's words. Her tears turned into a smile. Mom, didn't you say he was a good person? Mrs. Tang felt a bit awkward. Yin, did he take advantage of you? No. Tang Yin shook her head. I told him that I can't do it before he brings me to his parents. That's good, that's good. Tang Yin was overjoyed. Since he didn't take advantage of him, then forget it. We even got 700,000 for free. It's a big win. Mom, what are you saying? You have to return that money. Tang Yin panicked when she heard that her mother was going to take Lin Yi's money for herself. How can I owe him that much and not pay him back? What's wrong with that? He dumped you, not the other way around. Besides, he gave you a breakup fee, so it's only right that we get it. Mrs. Tang said disapprovingly. Wei, on the other hand, was dumbfounded. He didn't think that his sister and Lin Yi had already broken up. He was hoping that his sister would borrow the money, but now, Sister, what about me? Xiao Wei hung his head dejectedly, and Xiao Dan's face was also filled with despair. Wei, don't worry. I won't buy it anymore. I'll give you the money first. Mrs. Tang may be snobbish, but she wasn't a cold-blooded person. She was generous to her family. I know I'm in trouble, but I can't let you and Dan suffer. How about this? You give them the money first. Mom, you still want to touch that money? I told you I'd return it to Lin Yi. Tang Yin panicked. She'd told Xiao Xiao that she'd return the money to Lin Yi. How could she touch that money? The breakup fee is yours, of course. Do you want to see your brother die? Mrs. Tang glared at Tang Yin. It's good enough that he asked for some more money. You're giving it back to him? Tang Yin was speechless. She had to return the money, but she couldn't just ignore Wei's situation. What should she do? But if she took the money without any qualms, what would Lin Yi think of her? He'd definitely look down on her, and Xiao Xiao would laugh at her for being vain and acting all high and mighty. For a moment, Tang Yin was in a dilemma. Yin, why are you so dumb? He played you. Isn't it normal for him to give you money? Mrs. Tang humphed. Chapter 482. Chapter 482. Sending money to the door. You can have fun with it or dump it. Mrs. Tang said with a wave of her hand. All right, it's decided. We'll go with Wei to that big boss later. Tang Yin felt that it wasn't right to use the money, but there was nothing she could do about it. It was her family's fault for being so unlucky. Sis, don't be sad. That bastard has eyes but can't see. Don't worry, Wei am a man too. I'll return the money to you, Wei said. He knew what his sister was worried about. I won't make it hard for you. Okay. Tang Yin nodded, comforted. At least Wei wasn't the type of person who only knew how to ask for money. It was enough for her. The bank card was opened under Tang Yin's name. Withdrawing 500,000 in one go, naturally, Tang Yin had to go there herself. They found a 24-hour bank, withdrew the money, and took a taxi with her mother, Wei, and Dan to the area where the big boss lived. Right here. It's so grand. Mrs. Tang said enviously as she looked at the luxurious facilities and beautiful houses. When will we be able to live in a house like this? Auntie, this is Lead Shore. It's one of the most luxurious residential areas in the city. Everyone who lives here is rich, and one house is worth tens of millions. Wei had been here a couple of times, so he was familiar with the market here. Tens of millions? That's expensive. Mrs. Tang was taken aback. She looked at her daughter with pity. I was hoping that your uncle and I would have a chance to live in a mansion like this now that you've found yourself a rich husband. But it seems like that's not possible anymore. Mom, what are you talking about? Tang Yin frowned. This was something that hurt her, and she didn't want to talk about it. I won't talk about it. I won't talk about it. Mrs. Tang thought to herself. Should she find a chance to talk to Lin Yi and see if there was a chance for them to get back together? But these rich young masters probably already had someone arranged for them to marry. Why else would they break up with her without any warning? There had to be a reason behind it. Mrs. Tang was a shrewd old woman, and naturally, she was a bit more scheming than Tang Yin. She thought even further than Tang Yin. Plus, he didn't know about Xiao Xiao, so he thought that there had to be a reason why Lin Yi dumped his daughter. Mrs. Tang thought that even if Lin Yi couldn't marry her because of his engagement, he could at least be a mistress, right? And my requirements are not high. I just want my family to buy a mansion on the bank of the Lead River. If he couldn't do it, he had to ask Lin Yi for another sum of money. He couldn't let him get away with it. Even if he didn't do anything to his daughter, he had hurt her feelings. Tang Yin didn't know that her mother was thinking of something snobbish again. She was still very pure, and naturally, she wouldn't think that her mother would have such embarrassing thoughts. If she knew, she would be furious. However, Mrs. Tang couldn't be blamed for being so snobbish. The fickleness of the world had frightened her. After suffering for so many years, she didn't want her daughter to suffer anymore. So she even thought of becoming a mistress. She couldn't be blamed. It's here. Wei pointed at an independent mansion. Mr. Zhou lives here. Mom, don't say anything when we go in. We can't just give him money this time. We have to make an agreement. Tang Yin took a deep breath and calmed herself down. She returned to normal and stopped thinking about what happened during the day. Tang Yin hadn't interacted with society before, but in a high-class private school like Songshan's first, she had interacted quite a bit. She knew that everything needed a contract. Her father didn't get any compensation because the contract wasn't clear. So she could give that Mr. Zhou some money this time. But he had to write an agreement that he wouldn't pursue Dan's responsibility in the future. All right, I'll listen to you. Mrs. Tang nodded, knowing that her daughter knew a lot. Only then did little Wei ring the doorbell of the villa. Zhou Tiandi had been very depressed these past 2 days. Not only did he offend Linny, but he also offended Sihua. Both of these were people who could kill him instantly. He didn't even have the slightest intention to fight back. His opponents were too strong. Lin Yi was a master above golden class, and Sihua didn't lack golden class masters around him. He could still do whatever he wanted in Songshan with Uncle Yan's support, but now that Uncle Yan was crippled by Lin Yi, he didn't dare go out and show off anymore. Fuck! I, Zhou Tiandi, used to be a big shot in Songshan, but now I'm this useless. Tiandi poured himself a glass of red wine and downed it in one gulp, depressed. But even though he was depressed, he was still glad. He might have offended Sihua, but it wasn't a deep grudge. He just didn't want to work with him, and Sihua wouldn't come after him for that. Lin Yi, on the other hand, had promised not to pursue the matter any further, so Tiandi felt a bit better. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to eat or sleep in peace. Fortunately, there would be a pretty girl coming to play with him in a while, and that soothed Tiandi's depressed heart a little. Tiandi adjusted his clothes when he heard the doorbell. He knew that it had to be Dan. He'd given Dan an ultimatum: bring the money tonight, or clean her up and send her here. The maid went to open the door, and Tiandi walked out of the study and headed downstairs to the living room. Tang Yin, Mrs. Tang, Dan, and Wei came to the living room and sat on the sofa awkwardly. Wei and Dan were a bit better, since they'd been here a few times before, but it was Tang Yin and Mrs. Tang's first time in a mansion like this, and they didn't know what to do. Dan, you're here, right? Are you going to give the money or the person? Tiandi said as he walked down the stairs, but paused when he saw the 4 people on the sofa. But because the sofa's back was facing the stairs, Tiandi couldn't see who they were. Mr. Zhou, we brought the money. Wei stood up and turned to Tiandi. What, you brought the money? Tiandi paused and anger rushed to his head. He never would have thought that Wei would come up with another 500,000. How was that possible? Wei and Dan were from the countryside, and even if they borrowed from the whole village, they wouldn't be able to get that much money, would they? Chapter 483. Scared to the bone, but Wei's words shattered Tiandi's fantasies. Tiandi's dreams had been shattered in an instant, and he was furious. Yeah, we brought 500,000. We hope that you'll let Dan go, Mr. Zhou. Wei nodded. He didn't want to, but he was willing to give up the money if it could save Dan. Humph, where's the 500,000? Tiandi was pissed, but he couldn't go back on his words. He asked coldly, hoping to find something wrong and use it as an excuse to attack. It's with my sister. Wei said. Sis, can you take a look at him? Tang Yin found the voice familiar, and Wei called him Mr. Zhou. She suddenly realized that she knew this Mr. Zhou. He was Zhou Ruoming's father, Zhou Tiandi. Tang Yin's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't afraid of Zhou Tiandi when she was with Lin Yi, but now that Lin Yi had broken up with her, she'd lost Lin Yi's protection. Wouldn't she be at the mercy of the Zhou father and son? Tang Yin regretted coming here at the thought. She was afraid that Zhou Ruoming would do something outrageous again. Sis. Wei saw that Tang Yin wasn't moving and couldn't help but call out again. Tiandi looked at Tang Yin's silhouette. It was a pretty little figure, and he couldn't help but be moved. Dirty thoughts popped up in his mind as he smiled lewdly. Oh, your sister's here too? Tang Yin was even more afraid of Tiandi's disgusting voice, but Wei had already called out to her. She had no choice but to brace herself and stand up. She turned around and opened the bag in her hand, pretending to be calm. Mr. Zhou, I've brought the money. I hope you can keep your promise and let my brother and Dan go. Wah? Tiandi froze. He never would have thought that the sister Wei was talking about was Tang Yin. Damn it, why am I so lucky? The more I want to avoid Lin Yi, the more I provoke people related to him. Am I possessed by the god of misfortune? Otherwise, who else could be as unlucky as him? Tiandi thought that Tang Yin was mocking him at first. He was scared out of his wits as his face paled. I don't want it anymore. I don't want the money anymore. Tang Yin frowned as she saw the change in Tiandi's expression. Was he going back on his word? Little Wei was also shocked, and little Dan's expression also changed slightly. Director Zhou, didn't you say that you would release Lil Dan for 500,000? Why are you going back on your word? Little Wei was a little anxious. Mr. Zhou, you won't go back on your word, right? Tang Yin was shocked as well, but in order to not show her fear, she forced herself to remain calm. She couldn't soften at a time like this, or Tiandi would only make things worse. I say, Miss Tang. Ah, no, Sis Tang, I'm calling you Sis now. Please stop messing with me. I didn't do it on purpose. I really didn't do it on purpose. How would I know that Dan is your sister-in-law? I wouldn't have dared to do anything if I had known. Tiandi almost cried. He thought that Tang Yin was mocking him on purpose. After all, a lot of times powerful people like to say the opposite when they wanted to show off. Tiandi had done it many times when he bullied the weak, so he subconsciously thought that Tang Yin was doing the same thing as well. Tiandi's reaction surprised everyone. Little Wei and little Dan were dumbfounded, and so was Mrs. Tang. They didn't understand why Tiandi's attitude changed 180 degrees after seeing Tang Yin. Tang Yin frowned. After a short moment of confusion, she realized that Tiandi probably didn't know that she broke up with Lin Yi yet. That was why he was being so respectful to her. She could use this chance to leave, but Tang Yin was afraid that Tiandi would come after Wei after he found out that she broke up with Lin. It seemed like he wasn't being sarcastic. He really didn't want the money anymore. Although they didn't know the reason for this change, it was still a pleasant surprise. With that thought, Tang Yin said, Mr. Zhou, you should take the 500,000. This has to end, right? Tiandi thought that Tang Yin was purposely messing with him, and he was angry, but more than that, he was afraid. He knew from his son, Zhou Ruoming, that Lin Yi treated Tang Yin like a precious baby. Last time his son tried to rape Tang Yin, Lin Yi beat him up quite badly. How would he dare mess with Tang Yin again? Plus, Tang Yin's presence here most likely had something to do with Lin Yi. There was a limit to a person's patience. Who wouldn't be happy if he kept messing with Lin Yi and the people around him? Especially a master like Lin. Masters usually didn't care about small fry, but if a small fry went too far, then a master wouldn't mind slapping a small fry to death. It was like a dog. You might ignore it if it barked at you, but if it came to bite you once, you might tolerate it. But if it kept on biting you and your family, then you might just kill it and eat its meat. Tiandi felt like he was that dog, and after messing with Lin Yi so many times, it wasn't long before he was slapped to death. And so, Tiandi was completely terrified. He knelt on the ground with a thud, tears streaming down his face. Tang sis, I'm begging you, please don't play with me anymore. I know I'm wrong now. Please go back and tell Boss Lin that I'm blind. I'll slap my own face, okay? Just treat me like a fart and let me go. With that, Tiandi raised his arm and started slapping himself across the face. Slap, slap. The sound of the slaps didn't stop as Tiandi pummeled himself with all his might, getting more and more pumped up as he hit himself. Tiandi's words made Tang Yin blush. What did he mean by treat it like a fart and let it go? She was a girl, wasn't she? How could he be so vulgar? She couldn't help but glare at Tiandi. Tiandi's bad look gave Tang Yin some courage. Since he didn't want the money, then she'd let him write a contract. With a contract, she wouldn't have to worry about him going back on his words in the future. With that in mind, Tang Yin decided to go with the flow and use her connections to intimidate others. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.